rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. And little special circumstances tonight. Before we begin, I will make the motion to appoint Trustee Logue as our clerk pro tem. Is there a second?
A second.
All right, no discussion. You want to do the roll call?
Yes.
Ms. Ayers?
Mr. Dills?
Yes.
Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Mr. Logue?
Yes.
All right, great. Mr. Logue, let the record reflect that all three of us are here, and we will move on to new business. The reason why we're doing that, obviously, is our fiscal officer's on vacation. Hopefully, he's having a great time on the beach. And, okay, new business. We will start off with our friends I see in the front row, West Clermont Youth Basketball Association. And, ladies, did you want to come on up? Yeah, please, great. And then, all right, perfect. Yeah, looking forward to your presentation.
All right. Hello, my name is Megan Jilg. I'm the new president of the West Clermont Youth Basketball Association. This is our secretary, Jenna Osborne, and our vice president, Katie Elliott. We would like to just kind of let you guys know about our program. We've used the Civic Center gym for the past few years. There was a 2-year gap, I believe, where we didn't because of COVID. But in using the gym, we have over 700 students in our program. And if we were to have to use the schools, which we have to pay for the janitors, elite athletics, which we have to pay for, we would have to raise probably double our current registration fees. With the use of the Civic Center, we're able to keep our fees low, which helps a lot of the families in our district. As you all probably know, a lot of them are lower income. We have a total of 18 board members this season, and we are a fully nonprofit organization. We all do this in our volunteer hours. We all three coach. Katie coaches 2 teams. I coach 2 teams this season. Jenna coaches her daughter's team. And most of our board members are also coaches. We serve all students located within West Clermont Local School District from kindergarten to 12th grade. And like I said, we have over 700 students last season. In our K-1 program alone, we had 120 students. We provide both recreational and select basketball options to our participants, and the Township has been a tremendous partner, allowing us to run practices and games out of the gym, which helps keep our registration fees low. Last season, we ran practices on Tuesdays and Fridays and games on Saturdays for our 3rd through 12th grade teams. And this is in addition to our K-1 program, which runs October to November before our bigger kids start their games. Each season, we provide a donation to the Township to help reimburse the floor being refinished. We've been informed this year that our donation must be $7,000 in order to reserve our standard time, which is that Tuesday, Friday, Saturday, in the gyms. Last season, this donation was $2,000, and I actually have a contract that was signed by Corey at the time when he was interim zoning commissioner that states that our reimbursement we will provide a reimbursement to Union Township for a portion of the cost to resurface the gym floor at the conclusion of the season in 2023 in the amount of $2,000. So the way it was presented to us this season is that it was for reimbursement and cost of damages, which we have insurance that we provide every year that could help cover those damages, but is never used. Last season, we held probably 10 weekends of games in the Civic Center. Each game brings in between 60 and 100 different people, from anywhere to Coleraine up to Lakota, and maybe even further, because that's just how big our organization that we play under is. I lost my spot.
It's okay.
So, as you can probably understand, $7,000 is a lot for a nonprofit organization. All of the money that we bring in goes back out to either paying gym time at Elite, paying gym time for the schools or paying our fees to actually play these games in the organization that we're under. Yeah. So we are asking if we could have one or of two options. First option is write up a contract like we had last season between us, our organization, and the trustees, stating we will pay this amount in a donation to refinish the floors for X amount of years. Or we will have to pull our gym time and only run our K-1 program out of the gym for this year. It's really disheartening knowing that each year it could increase more and more when it's a donation, and we're just trying to help these kids play basketball and teach them sportsmanship and teamwork and everything that, in my opinion, you need to know in order to succeed in life. And as a nonprofit, we're being asked to pay more here than we would even if we were to rent out a school.
Fair enough, yeah, thank you. Was that
Yeah.
everything? Okay.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure I understand everything. So currently, or you were paying $2,000 a year, and that was for Tuesday nights,
So,
Fridays.
yes, so
Fridays.
last year we had Tuesday nights from 5 to 10, Fridays from 5 to 10, and then Saturdays from 7 to 10. And this year we actually put in from 8 to 9 on Saturdays. And this contract actually states Sundays as well for Snapdragons, but we are no longer the same entity. They're a different entity. They already have their gym time. And we provided per this $2,000 for refinishing the gym floors.
I see.
Our past president even walked through the gym and pointed out errors in the bleachers or issues with the bleachers prior to the season. Those issues were still there at the end of the season, and now we're being told that our donation has to help cover those issues.
I see, okay. So you practice, just to make sure everything clear, so for 10 weeks? So we'll say 2.5 months. Tuesday nights, Friday nights, Saturday nights, and then plus you also practice at Elite as well?
So we have one gym at Elite just to keep our partnership with them. 90% of our games are run out of Elite, and we see no funding from that. So since we run our games out of there, they collect the gate fees, and for our games, that serves as our payment since they're collecting those fees. We still have to pay for our practice time. So we run 5 hours out of Elite. We have one court, 5 hours a night for 5 nights a week.
I see, okay. And West Clermont youth basketball, is it completely separate from West Clermont schools?
Yeah,
Is it
we
just
are
the
not
name?
associated
Yeah,
with
okay,
the schools.
Okay, fair enough. Okay. Gentlemen, do you have any questions at all? No?
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah,
Please go
yeah,
ahead.
I got a few. Thanks for questions you led into there, Chairman. The first easy one, you said registration fees double. What are registration fees right now? on
Currently
average?
for recreation, for 3rd through 12th grades, it's $125. Our select is a little higher, it's $250, but they play double the amount of games. And then our K-1 program is $65, and our 2nd grade is $90.
Okay, so everything from 65 to
65 to
double
$250.
to 250.
Yeah. So essentially, if we had to go elsewhere, all of those fees would have to increase.
And I wrote this down. I heard 7,700 students.
Last season, we had 700 total students, kindergarten through 12th grade.
Oh, 700 total students. Okay. And you're primarily utilizing the Union Township, so when Mr. Wright brought that to my attention last year, at the beginning of the year, about West Clermont youth basketball still not being in the facility, I said, yeah, absolutely, let's support that. So I was happy to see us welcome you back into the Civic Center. But to get to some more of the details here, I guess this is really great to hear and hear your organization and your structure. So what do the schools do for you, West Clermont School District? Because
Absolutely nothing.
absolutely nothing.
They don't do anything for any of the youth programs.
Why?
We don't know.
We have no idea. We've tried.
I mean, I'm happy for Union Township to be part of the solution,
Right.
but we don't need to subsidize the entire solution. And
Yeah.
I've heard from our township administrator here that,
this year it may be more unique or something different, that there's upwards of $17,000 of, and I know that was part for the gym of issues. And I know that's part of the concern and has ebbed and flowed in the past. When Mr. Wright brought that to my attention previously, he said, well, there's a philosophy there that they didn't want to incur like maintenance and the cost. And that's why I said, no, like I want to see the taxpayers' facilities being utilized. And I recognize you're a 501c3, and I know that that's a difficult position, but I am utterly shocked that the West Clermont Schools is doing nothing for you, and you're basically co-branded. So this is really helpful, because I was perceiving it as you're an organization with West Clermont School Districts, and you're serving that population to the best of your ability, but you've got no support from the schools.
Yeah,
So that's really interesting.
We've been trying, that's actually one of my goals as president, is to try to get recognition from the schools and get support from the schools. Like I said, we still have to pay in order to use the school's facilities, which a lot of our other competitors so we play in the Cincinnati Youth Premier League. A lot of our competitors in that league don't have to pay for school time to use the schools. They get all the schools for free. We have to pay in order to use the gyms at the schools, and the school has no support for us.
What type of capacity does West Clermont School District have for courts? I mean, they got 9 schools.
So we use the court at Summerside, we use the
You pay for
court
it?
at Withamsville, Tabasco, and the court at Willowville for practices.
Okay. When you say they do nothing for you, though, it's because you're paying their full
Right.
rate?
Right.
What is the full rate for?
It's
like, give me an idea?
$25 an hour for the weekdays and $50 an hour if we were to use it on the weekends.
Okay. How does that equate to like the deal that we represent with you, or the previous deal that we've represented with you here for practice? Like, there's not games happening here, correct? It's practice primarily?
We have practice Tuesday, Friday, and then we have games on Saturday. Our first game starts at, last season, I want to say our first game was at 9 a.m. and our last game ends at 9 p.m.
Okay.
If we were to have to use the schools for that time, we have some teams that play 20-game seasons. And that $2,000 donation that we provided, we would have paid probably double that in using the schools on the weekends because of the amount of games.
Real quick, Mr. Lewis.
Yeah,
You said
please, please.
5 to 10 p.m. Tuesdays and Fridays,
Mm-hmm.
7 to 10 on Saturdays?
7 a.m. to 10 p.m. is what we had last year. This year, we put in for 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. just because we didn't use that hour
Everything's
before.
supposed to- So 13 hours on a Saturday, 13 hours, okay, so, and then 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. Tuesday and Friday, right?
Yes.
Yes,
13, let me see.
That's
13
$25 an
plus-
hour for the court? Is that what you're
plus-
saying?
during the week, and then $50
On the weekend?
on the
Yes.
weekend.
Okay, I can see how that's an expensive bill then for.
Yeah.
Got
So,
it.
I want to make sure my math is right here, so I'm counting roughly 230 hours of court time here at the Civic Center.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so $2,000, what's my math? $2,000 divided by 230 hours is about $8.69, $8.70 an hour here.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, is there any, I'm gonna say competitor, like youth basketball in West Clermont, Union Township competitor to you guys?
So we have the Catholic leagues,
Okay.
where anybody that goes to a Catholic church can play within the Catholic leagues.
Is there like Upward as well and I-9?
Yes, we have
And I-9.
Upward, we have I-9, we have Nothing But Net.
But those are for-profits, right?
Those
Well,
are-
I-9
yes.
is, right?
That's what I literally was
Yes.
just gonna ask. Great question, thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Are all
So
of them
those are,
for-profits?
the Catholic league is not.
yeah.
They are, actually they might be, because they're owned by the league that we actually play under. I'm not really sure on that.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I-9 and Upward and Nothing But Net are all for-profit.
Okay.
And Upward uses the church on Glen Estee, the Glen Estee Baptist Church. And then Nothing But Net has their own facility that they run their games out of. And I-9, I'm not really sure where they play.
Can I ask one question?
Please, yeah.
while we're
please.
here? The donation last year was $2,000.
Yes.
It's not always been $2,000. Am I understanding that correctly, though?
So I know and I actually talked to our treasurer about this today. In 2022, 2023, it was 2,000. The year prior, the 2 years prior, there was no donation because we did not use the gym. I don't know what the donation was the year prior to COVID.
I was told $3,000 one year and $6,000 maybe another year. No,
She-
that's just what I was told, so I'm
Yeah,
curious.
she did confirm, because I asked her about the 6,000, she did confirm that 6,000 has never been a donation.
Okay, that's not what I was told, so I just want to make sure we were on the
Yeah.
same page at that point. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm sorry, that sounds about right. Again, just cold off my memory on that. I do
Mm-hmm.
remember when Mr. Wright brought it forward to me, it was basically giving you even better deal. But again, this is like much more picture of the overall environment. So,
Just for
please.
the board's clarification too, part of the reason for the number was, this year we have bills just right around a little over $17,000. It's about $2,700 in the floor and $14,500 in, bleachers that need to be repaired and that have been broken for some use in the gym. Trying to appropriate some of that to our large users, as they're, one of the bigger groups using this. So that's where we get to this concern.
I don't want to speak ill about anyone, because maybe they don't know the situation or all of that, but I'm just thinking, okay, nonprofit, schools are tax funded, right? So we get 100% of the revenue that comes in, and 60% goes straight to our schools.
Right.
40% comes back to us, and then it gets divvied out, right? So taxpayer money pays for the gyms, right?
Right.
Whether you're at the school or here at the Civic Center. And I just wonder who the decision maker is at the schools. You don't need to tell me. Right?
I don't even know, so,
Well,
Yeah,
well, ladies,
Ultimately, it's the
ladies,
board.
that's the problem.
Yeah.
yeah.
And so I don't know if it's the school board, if it's Johnny on the spot, or
And
Mrs. Smith,
that's part of
Mr.
the
Smith.
problem, is it
So-
keeps getting passed from person to person.
No one wants to take ownership of it.
So what I would like to do is maybe, let's, Ms. Ayers, would you mind hooking up with them, connecting with them afterwards? Do you have Ms. Ayers' information?
Yeah.
And obviously, as our administrator, she's the unofficial CEO of the township, if you will, right?
Right.
So she's well-connected, but publicly funded schools, Civic Center, all publicly funded tax dollars, right? You're paying $25 to $50 an hour to use the schools, you're paying $8.70 to use here. Okay, there's gotta be some, but I wanna help the nonprofits out, obviously. So let's try to connect some more and save you some money with the schools if we can.
Okay.
Maybe Ms. Ayers can work her charm or put pressure on whoever it is she needs to put pressure on, and maybe just relay the facts. But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I
That
mean,
was
I'm
the start.
open to
But-
ideas, we all are. We were trying to brainstorm ideas at our board meeting.
Okay,
Just, like I said, $7,000 is a lot on top of what we already pay. We pay close to $3,000 just for our rec program to play in the league that we play in.
okay.
And we don't want to have to increase fees exponentially. We know that at some point, we're gonna have to increase fees, we're aware of that. But just because, and all three of us can attest, it's hard right now. And
get it.
we don't want, parents to suffer even more and their kids not be able to play because they can't pay the fees.
Well, because on top of those fees, the kids pay for the families pay for ref fees. They have to buy new uniforms, so those fees pay for strictly gyms, things like that, on top of other fees that the families are responsible for. So that's why
Totally
we try to
understand.
keep,
Yeah,
Yeah.
organization fees down as much as we can.
I get all the fees, yeah, so
So-
my daughter plays soccer and my son plays flag football, I get all the
Sure.
additional, I get it. So, let's try to help you out and see if we can't work a deal.
Okay.
And, yeah, no
Yeah,
sweat.
that's
Anything
perfect.
else, yeah, please?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if I may. Another question on this. Do the schools, they've got their own school basketball program, but, I mean, do they view your organization as any type of like competition to what they do, or?
I don't think so. Last season was the first season the boys varsity coach and girls varsity coach actually reached out to us. We had a youth night with the boys varsity team.
Yeah.
So I think that they see us more as a feeder program now, and that's starting to change a little bit. And we're hoping that if they continue realizing that the kids that we're bringing up are coming into their programs,
Right.
that maybe they'll be more willing to help out.
Yeah,
I mean, not everybody makes varsity, right? I mean,
Right.
12
Right,
12
exactly.
12, 15 at the most,
Yeah.
most, I make a team, well, where do the rest of the kids go?
yeah.
Yeah.
So they gotta go somewhere,
Yeah.
One
right?
of,
So,
one of my teams I coach is high school.
Yeah.
And, I mean, one of the biggest things I did was when they were hitting 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, even when they didn't make the team, I pushed them, I'm like, go try out. You don't
Yeah.
make it, you've got somewhere to fall back to.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Side note, would you ladies one of you mind coaching our firefighter program?
We'll volunteer her wife because she's a past firefighter. We'll volunteer her.
I hope Chief Donnelly heard that comment. They keep losing to our police department.
I heard that.
Yeah, so,
The elite athletics, what they do, that trade-off with you, it sounds like ends up being a good deal for you.
It
Is that
does. It takes off a huge chunk. We still probably pay between 12 and 13,000 to them just for practice time.
Okay.
So, which that's again a large chunk of our funding, but they give us the gym time for games essentially for free because they're collecting those gate fees.
Gate fees, got it. So there's a little bit of a barter system on that.
Right.
Helps you out, but then the end result covers that.
Right.
So in that sense, that's why you're not actually writing a check for $12,000 to $13,000,
Right.
right? Okay. All right. And is that primarily due to capacity? That again, like we only have the one gymnasium here, and they've got more
Yeah,
capacity
and
there?
we can run, last season we ran, I think there was one weekend we had 5 games running all at the same time. So we can run more home games out of there, whereas in one gym, we really can't. So total, we had 6 games running at the same time, 1 here, and then 5 at Elite.
Okay.
got it.
Okay. Is there any other organization under the county umbrella? Because you're doing a big service in the community. I mean, been to West Clermont town halls, and their student population has doubled in mental health and anxiety and issues. And being active and engaged and playing basketball is something that, frankly, combats mental health issues for students, and it's good for it's good for overall healthy physical and mental, and making more resilient students. I mean, they've got a whole town hall right now about wanting to make more resilient students, so I think this is something they would definitely want to invest in. But is there anything at the county that you get county level support on anything?
We do not, we haven't looked really in the county level simply because the Snapdragons program is already leveraging the county for their special needs. And we were kind of intermingled. We had the same treasurer. They are now their own entity and are moving on. They have their own treasurer, their own EIN now. So we haven't explored that option yet, just simply because of that program.
Okay, all right. Mr. Becker, you've been quiet. Do you have anything that's come to mind on?
3 things come to mind. I'm thinking of GIBA. Is that a different organization?
That's Glen Estee, that's.
So that's a different organization.
We combined with
So-
Amelia years ago, or.
Yeah, when
West Clermont combined.
When Amelia and West Clermont, or Amelia and Glen
Okay.
Estee combined, our programs combined.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so there was no GIBA anymore. It's now
Correct.
West Clermont. Okay, 'cause
Correct.
my daughter participated in GIBA for a number of years. Judge McBride was running it at the time. The other thought I had was, I like the idea of teams from out of town coming in. It's great for economics here in Union Township. And I do want to be able to work with them as best we can to keep them running.
Great.
We appreciate it.
Thank you, ladies. Great presentation.
Thank you
Yeah,
so
appreciate it
much.
very
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies, very much. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know I kind of pulled on a couple additional questions there, but this was very enlightening to hear. And yeah, we don't want to hurt students. So appreciate it.
All set. Okay, any further discussion on item 1? Good to go?
Thank
Okay,
you.
we'll move on with item 2, which is our Mount Moriah Cemetery operations fees and rules. And I believe we have our lovely sexton here to present. Is that right?
Yes.
Appreciate you, sir. How you doing?
Good, how are you?
By the way, I know you did. Before you begin, I know you put a lot of time and energy into this packet.
I can't take all credit. Nancy, our secretary, helped me.
Oh, Nancy did?
Yeah.
Okay, well,
I can't
please,
take all the credit for
please
it,
pass
so.
on our thanks for this. This is great. Well done. Very well put together.
I
for
will,
us.
thank you. So to start off, this is obviously our current price sheet and stuff for any fees and stuff that we have in the cemetery. On the next page, this one is the proposal for the fees that I would like to change, and I'll kind of explain those to you. So increase the cost of foundations from 60 cents to 75 cents. Increase the cost of cremation scatterground from 500 to 600. And the reason that one is we wrote down in there because the bronze placards that we put in the book down by that area has gone up. They were originally 250, they've gone up to 275. So, and then also the increase of cost of purchase of resident grade from 550 to 600, increased cost of purchase of non-resident grade from 1,500 to 1,550. I won't go through all the open and closing costs, you can see those, but the reason we did that is on the next sheet, you can see the other townships that are in our area that have cemeteries also. And we kind of took the average at the bottom, even with ours included in there, and we were really close to the average, So adding $50 to a lot of these put us right there comparable with all the other cemeteries, and we wanted to stay comparable with those. The increase in cost for foundations was because the cost of concrete and stuff has gone up tremendously. So the only one we didn't change was the columbariums and the niches. And the reason being is we're right there and we have a great opportunity with our niches. We are able to sell niches for some reason, I think just because of our cemetery and how beautiful it is, very well. We have another columbarium obviously ordered for next spring, that would be here next spring. But we're already kind of like behind on that because we only have 5 or 6 niches in the current one still available. And we will probably be sold out in the next few weeks. So we're gonna have months of layover where we can't really provide anybody with them columbariums. We have 8 people on a waiting list for the next one already currently. So one of the things I want to talk to you guys about was seeing about if we can maybe order, a few at a time to keep us sustained and keep us going with that demand. As you can see, like if you look at this spreadsheet here on the bottom, you can see how our niches have just tripled in the last 5 years. That's a 5-year printout of what we've done all the way down the line as far as burials go the last 5 years. And the number that sticks out to me is the columbariums down here in 2022. We sold 67 of them and it was 89,500. So with the cost of what they are for us, and price is gonna go up on those too, so I think we really need to try to buy them now and stuff. And the other problem is we're running out of space. That we have one section that's left for traditional burials as of right now. So, and you can see with the trend on this graph back here, I had Nancy print this up, it shows you the National Funeral Directors Association graph for where cremations in general are going. And I know just speaking to the funeral directors in our area, they're saying it's 50-50 right now, and they foresee that number just increasing with cremations versus traditional burials. Where we're limited on space, I see so many more opportunity in green spaces that we do have available to take less room to where we could put other columbariums and stuff and benefit from that. Any questions about any of that?
Gentlemen, I'm still processing.
Yeah.
If you have any, go ahead and shoot.
Yeah, I got some basic intro. Thank you for your question about asking for basically budget authority to be able to control your inventory and move ahead on things.
Right.
That's the first thing I was thinking when you're describing your problem. I'm completely comfortable with giving them, I think that's why Ms. Ayers too, we've, in recent history here last year, we've reworked that to where departments, you can push your budgets up.
Right.
Asking for what you need to most efficiently and effectively operate and run your, your departments, and that's my interest to want to support that. So, so something like that, yeah, I'd like to clear the bureaucracy with that
Right.
and allow you to take care of your population that you need to there. What happens when you run out of traditional burial space?
So we will still continue to do traditional burials just because of a grave space that's been pre-bought by families and stuff like that, but our number will definitely decrease compared to what we do now.
Do you know when?
What,
I'm sorry.
If we don't buy more land, when are we expected to run out of it?
I would have to probably defer to Pat on this because
Okay, yeah.
I don't know how many.
Thanks, Pat.
Estimated last time I looked, probably within around 12 years.
Prime real estate right off Beachmont next to Lowe's is not the cheapest, is it?
No.
And getting Lowe's to respond to you to buy land is not the easiest
Oh,
either.
I'm sure they're
Yeah,
very
we've had this
responsive.
conversation before.
so a little further on my question with that though. What happens when we run out of traditional burial space? I know as a township, ORC requires us to operate the cemetery, but what happens when we're at capacity and we do not have space?
I think you can ask for a variance on that, or we would need to look at land in a different location.
So we're just required to maintain and continue to operate a cemetery? Like, what happens when we're landlocked and we do not have space?
I think you can go to the state and
So
indicate
that's
that
some-
this is the issue.
Okay, so that's great information. That's something to lobby on behalf of for our township to the legislative branch. Because that seems like that's, I mean, it's a great service to offer to the community, but I also think a very realistic issue.
And I think that's part of the reason this becomes an important conversation that we've talked, operationally internally, is that, it used to be that, I think we were saying 75% used to be traditional burials versus 25% your non-traditional burials.
Right.
And it is rapidly changing, and I think that's a function of society, but also, kind of where we stand, that it is a lot more 50-50, and frankly, if I'm guessing, I think you're gonna see a lot more where it shifts more towards non-traditional burials and less towards traditional
Well,
burials.
it's the freedom too, because, just in Mount Moriah, we have so many options. You got the scattering garden, you can bury ashes, you can have the columbations or niches. So, there's so much more option, plus the cost of a traditional funeral. Like I spoke to a family today, for basic needs for a family, to do a traditional burial, it's $12,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, and that's, give me, you said $12,000. What would be a traditional burial at
So a
Mount Moriah right
traditional
now?
burial, that would be the lowest cost casket, lowest quality.
Yep.
It'd also be just a plain concrete vault with no liner in it
Yep.
or any kind of water protection or
Yep.
seal or
Yep.
anything like that.
Yep.
So that would be your baseline.
And what would that cost be all in total? We've seen the different line items here from Mount Moriah, but what would be
So
our
for the whole service, for you to have your
open
visitation,
and close, all that, yeah?
that's what it would be. It would be $12,000.
Right now at Mount
Right
Moriah?
now.
Oh, that's $12,000.
Well, I'm talking funeral home cost and stuff like that.
This
So,
is
yeah.
the average cost. I mean,
Yeah.
each one's different.
Okay.
Gentlemen, this is a very expensive operation for the township. Do you see, if you go to the next page
Yeah.
on the left side? So this year, last year, it cost the township $854,000 to operate the Mount Moriah Cemetery, is that right?
Right.
And so, based on numbers, I mean, I know we're asking questions, and I know you're a new sexton, so it's okay if you don't have the answer, but when was the last time we raised our prices for a gravesite? Ballpark?
2009,
2009?
yes.
Okay, so we're looking at 14 years, 14 years, 15 years? And so I see Pierce Township is currently, looking at residential,
Yeah.
residents, not non-residents, we'll go in a
Yes.
second. So I see Pierce Township's at 700, Sims Township by Loveland is 770, Batavia Township is 700, and then Miami Township is 600, and our current price is 5, is that what it is?
Yes, 550.
Wow. So only Williamsburg Township is lower than us, everyone else is higher? Is that correct? Is that what I'm reading right? Okay. Well, gentlemen, based off the sheer numbers and just keeping up with the cost of everything, I don't think 600 is good enough. Is my first knee-jerk thinking of a business perspective, and the fact that we're running out of room, the fact that cost has gone up, the fact that it cost last year $850,000 to run that cemetery. I mean, it's a complete loss, right? I mean, I know we're not in the business of making money, but at the same time, we don't want to be. So, I see Pierce, Sims, and Batavia all higher than the $600 proposed. I would be in favor of a $650 or $675 number. I don't want to be the most expensive, but at the same time, I want to be the cheapest.
Right.
There's a big difference between the landscape of Williamsburg Township and Union Township, right? Big difference.
Right.
So, I don't want to be the most expensive. I want to be in the middle. I think more of a $650 or $675 looking at this. Non-residential, geez, Goshen Township. They go from being the cheapest for resident to the most expensive.
Yeah.
They're $2,000 for non-resident. Interesting. And you want to go to 1550?
Yes.
Same thing. I think $50 is not good enough. I would say higher. 1,700, 1,800 would be my number. We have Batavia at 16, Goshen at 2,000, Miami at 1,500, Pierce at 16, Sims, Loveland area is 1,870, so let's just call it $1,900. I think 1,700 would be a fair number for a non-resident to be buried there.
Okay.
And gentlemen, you can chime in if you'd like, but, yeah. Any thoughts, Mr. Becker? Mr. Logue, what do you think?
I've got a couple. I know you're bringing us back to the task that's being presented right now, which is looking at these actual rates right now
Yeah.
and raising them. I'm talking getting more overall picture and information on this, which I think leans into your where I see you leaning for increasing the rates. And I have a question, and it's kind of, Ms. Ayers, I don't know, again, ORC or what, but I'm asking the question, what happens when you run out of, what else is regulated there? Is the price regulated? I mean, if it was a higher fee that no one wanted to come and use your service,
Right.
what would that do to our variable cost of operating the cemetery?
Right.
Like, what would be the balance there, basically? I'm not trying to price people out. I'm very sensitive to this from the aspect of, I just had a cousin at the age of 52 pass unexpectedly. You know, I know it was extremely high cost where they were at, and had to quickly buy a plot at Gate of Heaven Cemetery to be, buried next to her dad. So, yeah, it's a very sensitive subject.
Right.
And there's community, and there's family members, and there's already pre-bought plots. But I think iron sharpens iron, and it's like, well, what's the philosophical debate here to say, if it was the highest price, if we were the highest price, and that drove demand down, would it be a difference to our $850,000 a year operating cost? What's our fixed cost versus, the variable costs going hand in hand with that? And if we price something out, are we not providing the service on paper? We're not providing the service? That's the answer. You shake your head, yes?
Well, so the ORC says we have to run it. The ORC also gives you the ability as the board to control the rules, regulations, and the circumstances under which we run it. So I
Yeah.
don't think that becomes a statutory concern. I think you're getting into a philosophical debate of what do you want to position this to be. I will tell you from discussions with other managers in other localities, we are not unique in this way. I think many townships are looking at the cemetery operations and saying, what do we do with this? I think this is a service that people continue to subsidize as a service to residents. It's a philosophical debate of how much you'd like to subsidize it, or whether you want to look at, maxing out prices to try and control what's the usage and demand.
So, $850,000, how much are we losing a year? 400,000? What's the cost? Okay, $400,000? And we
Approximately.
just talked about, West Clermont youth basketball, that's talking about a $7,000, subsidy, basically. And every year we do $400,000 subsidy just because we're required by the state to operate our cemetery where it's at. So, I think, not to expel, too much time on everything, I'd be supportive of giving the authority to raise the rate, maybe give them the authority to execute when they want to put it in place. I hear what you're saying. You want to go higher? We can give them basically a target or a threshold, and if you need to bring them back to it, but basically say, continue forward with when you want to execute raising the rates. Sounds like this board right now is at least supportive of at least what's being presented here, or even higher. I'm supportive of it being higher, and the numbers you threw out there, I didn't sharpen the pencil on, but I'm comfortable with that, and thought process of it. And I want to hear what Mr. Becker has to say, but, in addition to that, Ms. Ayers, it might be something that we add in the community survey in September. I don't think we've ever had feedback from the community. How important do you feel it is to operate an affordable priced cemetery, and if that means it's a cost to the township versus X, Y, and Z services that are provided, right?
It's also the argument of, I live here, I pay my taxes here, this is a benefit of being a resident. So there's that argument as well.
Yeah.
I also think
Please.
this is only one aspect of kind of changing the way this operations
Sure.
look. And I think we can't discount the idea that the most cost efficient, and I don't want to say moneymaker because that sounds bad, but the best rate of return on investment in the cemetery is actually the columbarium niches and the scattering gardens.
That's why I brought that up.
Yeah, and so, there's a part of this that we can fix with the fees, but there's also a part of this that we correct by positioning ourselves to take advantage of that trend change, and where that is where some of the costs are made up as well, by transitioning into having more opportunities for the columbarium orders, the scattering garden facilities, that helps to shift the type of burials we have, that will also help the rate of return.
So are we required to provide the traditional burial, or can we satisfy the requirement by offering not columbarium niches priced at where they're at, and maybe traditional is still offered, but it's a much higher price?
I think that's something we could take a look at, but I think you did this, a part of this is rates, but part of it is how we position ourselves, being able to take advantage of the columbarium and the non-traditional burials.
Something to think, because we're not voting on anything tonight with this, so something else to think about is to make it easier for future boards and just the future in general, it's just a simple inflation increase every year, 3 to 5%-ish ballpark. We'll figure out that number. Therefore, the next boards for the future don't have to continuously come back to this and wait 14, 15 years to make a decision on raising the rates. So, Mr. Beck, I'm going to talk about the columbariums, but I'll let you talk about, Mr. Becker, do you have anything you'd like to talk about?
Yeah. So I'm just doing some quick back of the envelope math on this. It looks like we're losing $450,000 a year on the cemetery.
Yep.
Okay. With these price increases that you're proposing, how much of that $450 does it make up for?
Like I said, the reason I brought up the columbariums is because, like she said, it makes up the biggest difference, because we're paying $25,000 for 72 niches in a columbarium, and we're selling them at $1,000 or $1,750 for one or two, versus two people in one. So, I mean, like last year, just off of one columbarium, you know, we tripled what we made off that, with like $89,500.
I see.
Okay, well, I don't want, I guess ideally, I want the cemetery to break even.
Right.
I also don't want to, price ourselves substantially out of the market in terms of, what everybody else is charging.
Right.
However, being at the high end of that, so I guess I'm in large agreement with the chairman here, I'm fine with.
Right.
So, and I guess another question I want to, so I guess I'm inclined to think the proposal just isn't high enough.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just thinking it's not going to get us to a break-even point
Right.
or close to it, which is where I want to get to. Also, so what would you recommend for a frequency of review? I mean, so the last time we did this was, 2009?
Yeah.
That's been a while.
I think we should probably do it probably every 2 years.
Every 2 years?
Yeah, just the way the economy's going
I
and
was actually going to
inflation and stuff.
suggest one better. I would like to make this sort of late summer, early fall,
Yearly.
pre-budgets, a time for us to look at all the fees we associate with the township services. I think this situation is actually very common to what you find in local government. Nobody addresses it till you have to, but then you have to change the fees so drastically because you haven't changed them in 15 years. And it would be worth our time every, is it August or September, as we're working through budgets for the next year, to go over internally, which we've done this time, to say, hey, what are our fees for all of our services and are they comparable in the market? So that you're checking that annually as opposed to having to make these larger changes once every 15 years to catch up. So, we've looked at zoning fees fairly recently, and this is the other big collection of fees. I'd like to get us into this. We do this every late summer, early fall.
My only concern with that, I agree with you, and I like it. My only concern is 5 years, you're gone. 5 years, you're gone. Is this pattern going to continue? Are we going to do this every budget for the fall? But whereas if I was to put a number in place every 3 to 5, every year just the price goes up 3 to 5% just to go with inflation. But my concern is how do you make it in place? So, because when we're not here and you're not here and you're not here, is this going to continue to be reviewed every year? Because it hasn't been for the past 13 years.
I am working on, and we've discussed briefly for the end of the year, new policies and procedure manual for the internal township operations, which
Okay.
controls how we handle everything. I would classify it in that type of a document that says, here's how we do budgets.
Perfect.
Here's how we do this kind of annual review, and that we would call for this review annually.
Love it. Love it. Okay. Fair. Yeah. Addressed it. Perfect. Mr. Rector, please go ahead.
Yeah, just two other thoughts. So also, as we're adjusting prices and getting, I guess, closer to the upper range or wherever we need to be, I'd want to put the emphasis or keep the emphasis on the non-resident
Right.
graves as opposed to resident.
Right.
And another thing where, we do, of course, have residents that are financially strapped. And increasing these rates would obviously just increase their own financial problems. So I'd also like to have, I guess, I don't know, maybe it's an informal policy or something somehow that the township can work with the people who need it.
Okay.
Mr. Beck, right here on that, sounds like, would there potentially be like and Ms. Ayers, have you seen this work? Basically have like a grant board or something to where I know that's be timely, and it's, when this happens, it's very timely, but
I have not seen a grants particularly, but when Mr. Becker indicated that, the first thing that came to my mind is we could have some income-based qualifications,
Yeah.
that are,
quick.
if you have this particular rate that's established annually by the federal government, we could qualify for a certain discounts or things to help correct those types of problems.
I think we should work with people.
Yes, absolutely.
And,
That's my only comment.
It's a good
Mr.
point.
Chairman.
and I don't want to be in the business of being a bank, lending out money, but at the same time, I'm okay with payment plans. But I mean, we had 161 burials, resident burials in 2022. So it's not like it comes up every day. So, but yes, I agree with you. Well said, Mr. Becker. Anything else, sir?
I'm not,
I want to talk about this subject, the columbariums.
Yes.
Look, I'm military, I love dress right dress, meaning uniformity across the board, but this is the one example where I'm not, and I'm okay with it not being this way. This is what I would like to see,
Okay.
and if we can't make this happen, I want a different solution to it. Is on Memorial Day, which is to honor our fallen heroes, or on my, your mother's birthday, or your husband's birthday, or whatever, or the date of their death, somebody wants to put up flowers or something to memorialize their lost, right? We don't offer that right now.
Right.
And so I want that problem solved, one way, shape, or form.
Okay.
And so if they want to pay a premium to have the option to have the flowers, mounted to the columbarium, that's fine. And if we want to have sections where these columbariums do not have anything to memorialize your loved one, it is what it is, and these ones over here do, and again, there will be a premium charge, it's fine, because it does cost more to get them mount and all that, and then maintain them, because who's going to come by and take the flowers away when they're dead? I get that. But if I have a loved one that is buried in a columbarium, I'm willing to pay the extra $250, $500, whatever the number is,
Okay.
to have something mounted there, so I can come back whenever I want, quite
Okay.
frankly, and memorialize them.
Okay.
So, I guess my thing is I guess price point, you don't have an answer, I know, a price point of where you'd like to be at, what you think is reasonable, and bring it to the board, and to upcharge for that, and then, this section over here memorializes, you can do that, this section over here, you can't have that. And gentlemen, I'll open up for discussion on that. Mr. Becker, any thoughts on that at all? What are your,
no, it's fine.
you're okay with that?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Mr. Logan, what do you think?
I'm fine with that, and for the current columbarium niches that are in place, because I've heard from residents that are interested in wanting to be able to do exactly what you're talking about. Would it be possible to either uniformly get, either one whole columbarium niche that offers that, or if need be, if it's a newer section that offers that, are they able to take that off, if they want to do that, they're able to be moved? Is
Yeah,
it
we could
possible?
probably separate that to where, like he said, where we have one section.
So if you
that
already
is-
have a loved one in a columbarium niche, and you want to be able to memorialize them and do, put a flag or put something on it, and that niche set does not offer that, are you able to, as sexton, would you be able to move that if that resident wanted it moved?
So if we did that, we would have to change paperwork, like the deed and all that
Correct.
stuff on.
Correct, but it's physically possible.
But yeah, we could physically do
I
that.
mean, there'd be a charge.
Right.
It
So we
would
break,
be-
you know,
yes.
so get our money back for the, whatever that does, the cost.
Right.
Is it possible to move these plates?
Yes.
You can just take them off and put them on a different columbarium?
Yeah, actually, those all are the same size, so yeah.
Okay.
So they all fit the same.
Mr. Taylor, what do you think? You be bold and honest. I know, but this is your department, and you gotta deal with, I don't wanna use the word headache, I don't wanna use that word, but of maintaining these, right? So, I want you to be bold and honest with me, and you tell me if it's a terrible idea or a good idea.
No, if the board wants to have options for the loved ones, that's what we'll do.
What are your thoughts on it?
That was a political answer.
What's the pros and cons to it?
That's, my only concern is I don't want it to turn into where we, and I'll use the nicest term, over-decorate
Got
the
it.
areas. You know, we open it up to somebody would put flowers. I know that you talk about that.
Yeah.
You know, next thing we know, we go down there and then I'm not against putting a small flag in there or something like that, but next thing you know, we come down, there's a 5x8 American flag, or there's, you know,
Pictures, balloons.
pictures,
Got it.
balloons, you know, there's stuff taped on them, and then it starts to take away from the elegance of what I see as the columbariums.
Get it. So can we, basically, if someone wants to buy the I want to say the memorialized columbarium, we have them sign our rules, what it is, and if the rules are violated, our maintenance crew takes it down and tosses it away. Sorry, not sorry. You signed the paperwork. This is the rules you signed up for. Before you couldn't do anything, now you can at least do something, and you broke our rules. Would you be okay with that?
Yeah, the one thing I would want to touch base with Jason on is to establish what rules we want to
Totally get it.
set forth, like, hey, flowers are allowed, but you can't have X, whatever that is. So at least we have the rules in place prior to ever getting to that point.
So, because I mean, I'll tell you, just from being a father, take trustee roll out for a minute. You know, my 14-year-old gets hit by a bus tomorrow. I'm going to go down there and I'm going to put flowers on there every single day, and I don't care about rules. So, just telling you what I would do as a father, right? And I think any person would do that, right? So, I'd like for something, and I get it, just like to loosen up our rules a little bit. And again, if you throw the piece of paper in front of them and say, hey, look, here's the contract, here are the rules, we good? And then 2 weeks later, you see there's pictures and balloons and confetti or whatever, just, we'll take it down and toss it, you know? What do you think? Is that too much of a headache, or?
Depending on, you know, I can get with Jason, we can
Okay.
talk about setting some rules before we, you know, obviously we'll come back to the board and, you know, we'll say, hey, look, this is the rules we've come up with, this is the parameters, this is what we think works for us.
Okay.
You know, as far as maintenance, you know, and maybe separating some areas out.
Because what I don't want to do is, because this is your guys' wheelhouse, and I don't want to disrespect what you folks do every day. And so I don't want to go up here and say, hey, here's what we're going to do, but then it makes your lives so much harder and it doesn't make sense. So I do want your recommendations, and we'll kind of work from there, if that makes sense. So,
It does.
okay. Mr. Becker, thoughts?
I'm good.
Slow thoughts?
In agreement with the assignment that you're putting forward there. One question that I have on the new section and traditional burials, just familiarize me with this, okay? Do we allow, is it a standard headstone, or
It's
is
a
it
flush headstone.
It's okay, so is that kind of like a new like a new standard anyway? Because, so I was at Gate of Heaven Cemetery, and I know my grandparents, and this is an interesting piece, gentlemen, but my grandfather bought 6 plots in 1950 there in Section 1 for $125 total for all 6 plots. Back in 1950. So, but anyway, I was looking around, I recognized everything is flush, and then it's also, in the newer sections, it's like, you twist this little thing in the middle and pop out a flower
Yeah, the
vase and
vase.
flip it around. Is that what we have as well now?
Yeah, so in that new section, yeah, you can do that too, but that's optional. So the family orders that when they order their headstone, the vases that are in the ground and
Okay.
stuff. But we install them when they come in,
So those vases, right now, families have that as the option on those headstones. It's
Yeah,
really the
but-
columbarium niches where there's no option to.
Yeah, which, it's their option, you know, it's like if they wanna pay for that extra thing that they, you know, for their headstone and
Okay.
stuff, so, yeah.
Okay. Well, I was just looking at that, and I was thinking, from the maintenance standpoint, that has to be much easier to maintain, the flush headstones.
It is, if they can stay in that, you know, that vase and stuff, but it's when you get stuff excessive around the
Bum-
headstone itself.
But even for cutting grass and everything though, right? I mean, just, I imagine the mower
Yeah,
goes
it's
right
easier
over
with those, yes, but like I said, it's just if they don't put excessive or decorations in the ground around it.
Okay, which would go to the policy discussion
Yeah.
as far as
So-
setting
Yeah.
the standards. Okay, great. No, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And then, please tell Miss Nancy, appreciate everything she put together and helping you
I
out.
will.
How is Miss Fife doing?
She's doing very good.
Taking over in the
Yeah,
warm
I
transition?
think she'll be ready to go when Nancy retires.
Awesome, awesome,
So,
love
yeah.
it. Big
Jason-
shoot, please, go ahead.
So Jason, do you want to discuss the 2 rule changes you were looking for as well?
Yeah, I would like to, so obviously, Rule 10 was the animal and pets are not permitted in the cemetery unless assist or disabled. The reason I want to do away with this is the vinings next to us, people constantly walk their pets in there, and they've always been very respectful. I've never seen anybody with their dogs off the leash or off the roadways or anything like that, or not picking up after their animals. So that's why I decided just to kind of get away from it and stuff, and maybe also even offer the mud mix service like in the 2 parking lots in the cemetery to better ensure that they are cleaning up after their animals. But we've never had issue with anybody, walking their pets in the cemetery. So that's the reason I kind of wanted to get away from this rule and just delete it completely.
Hold on, let me see the wording of that. Where's that?
Okay, so Rule
So that's
10,
on this
animals and
page.
pets are not permitted in the cemetery unless issued to assist the disabled. And the
Yes.
proposal is to basically eliminate that rule.
Yes,
You don't see it as an issue.
I do
No,
not.
here it is. Yeah, I'm fine with that. I think there's no issue at all. Put the pet thing, the mitts up, and let's roll. That's fine.
Okay.
I do have a question on that.
Yeah.
So there's no issue right now. Do you think that by deleting the rule, that that's going to create any issue?
No.
You're not going to see an increase of pets?
No.
So my real question here is, are the mutt mitts truly needed? Because I'm thinking visually, I'm there, and is that a standard at other cemeteries? Do they have the
I
mutt
don't
mitts, you know what I'm
know
saying?
I mean, they do at dog parks and stuff, honestly.
Right,
but
and I
was
don't, but I
thinking-
don't want it to feel like a dog
No,
park, it's a cemetery.
that was more my idea, just to better ensure that people are using them and clean up after their animals. But we have never had an issue with anybody cleaning, so it don't matter either way. So-
I think I'd rather go with signage on that for mutt
Okay.
mitts or whatever, like, if we hear
Right.
feedback that there's now an issue.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying?
I mean, I'm willing to call, I'm good with striking it, and I'm good with putting up whatever again, you folks, this is your wheelhouse.
Okay.
And I can never, I don't think of walking my dog in a cemetery. However, if I have a loved one that dies, and my dog is a part of my family, and I want to go there and spend an hour or two at the gravesite, shame on us for restricting them for doing that. And I can't, and nor have I in my mind ever thought about taking my dog for a walk in a random cemetery. I just never thought about that, right? So I don't foresee it ever being a problem.
Right.
No, I do think about going to Veterans Park, and I do
Right.
think about going to Clever Park.
Right.
But I never thought about going to the cemetery.
Right.
So, I would agree with you. I think striking it's fine, and I would personally put up the 1 or 2 mitts, or signage, whatever you want, Mr. Logue. But that's my thoughts, and we can even call for a vote next meeting on it, but,
Just clarifying, I don't believe, it sounds like there doesn't necessarily need to be mutt mitts or signage at this point, but the rule can just be struck. Because it sounds like there's, people that break the rules regardless. So if they're gonna be going there with their dog, and their dog's gonna be defecating, and they're not gonna pick it up, they're not, right? It sounds like that's not an issue currently. So I think if we strike the rules, we don't have now all of a sudden an increase that we require mutt mitts, is my only thought.
what's the cost?
For the mutt mitts.
Yeah. Ballpark?
1,500.
Oh, they're 400,
Yeah, well, that was 1,500 for the full unit and the signage and trash can.
$350, $400, or it's up to $150
Yes.
for a sign. I mean, there's not a significant cost there, but to me, it's a visual aspect of, that's what I'm just trying to go
Oh, I
with.
see.
That's all I'm trying to go with. You're going to visit your loved ones, and now you see, hey, the mutt mitt got put next to, my loved one. Like, I don't think it's a thing that we have to do at this point, even if we allow that rule to go away. Yes, take your pet, loved one, in the cemetery, but that's all I'm saying, is trying to get away from that feel.
Good point.
I'll defer to my experts, I'm sure you too. If you want to put them in, put them in. If you don't, you don't. It's $400. And if you think it becomes a problem when we strike the rule, then throw one up. If you don't think it's an issue, then I don't really care. So, yeah,
We can evaluate that.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy with them having the authority to make the decision. I'm just saying, don't feel like you're bound to go put them up. It's not an imperative that by striking the rule, you must go put those up. No.
Okay. We'll do a trial.
You
basis, see
guys,
how it goes.
yeah.
Guys.
Yeah, your call. Anything else on your rules? What do you think?
Rule 14, the recorded owner of the grave are permitted to place flowers or decorations consistent with these regulations within a 2 feet area immediately adjacent to the corner and in front of each headstone. Decorative wreaths are permitted. The reason I want to change this down to make it a foot is because a lot of times 2 feet infringes on somebody else's gravesite.
Totally get it.
So,
Yeah, Mr. Becker, thoughts?
No, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good with it. That makes sense.
Okay.
Mr. Logue, good?
I agree.
Yep, easy enough. Strike it. Anything else?
yes, so the rule change was Rule 25, not allowing any shepherd hooks in the cemetery. I actually have some information for you guys behind, so if you don't know what shepherd hook is,
Well, you said what number?
it's Rule 25 in our rules, but it's to remove the shepherd hooks in the cemetery.
Rule 25 says, is
Yeah,
not.
it's on this page if you're looking.
It would be an additional,
Oh.
it would be an additional
Oh, okay, I
prohibited
see, I see.
Jefferson.
It would be, Rule 25 on this, so yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay, New York, oh, I see, okay.
So we printed out some information about that and why, and some other cemeteries that don't allow them. Tate Township has a safety concern. It is a safety concern for us because our mowers catch them, our machinery catch them, they get ripped out of the ground. They're laying on the ground, we run them with mowers. It's just a safety concern for us.
Get it? Mr. Becker, any problem?
I agree.
Cool, cool.
Agree.
Okay?
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
Let's
All right,
roll.
thank you guys for your time.
Hey, well done. Yeah, great presentation. Yeah, and you, we hammered, hey, I know you're new to that position. I mean, you've been with the township for a long time, but we hammered you the questions. You did a great job, so
Thank you very
well
much.
done.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Now, we do have, since this is a working session, we do like to include the public. Is there anyone, we're kind of doing it out of order because I feel like we already had board discussion and everything. But is there any public comment at all about rules from our sexton, Mount Moriah Cemetery? Okay, seeing none, let's go ahead and move on. I'm sorry, gentlemen, is there any more board discussion on that?
Nope. I just love when we open up for public comment on all these individual aspects during a working session. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I do too. And item 3 is our zoning resolutions updates. Ms. Ayers, you want to take that over?
I'm actually going to toss to Mr. McCormick over
Actually,
there.
let's toss it over to Ms. McCormick. Psych, just kidding. Go ahead.
And Mr. Taylor, I think if you would like to leave, I think you can head out, unless the board has any additional.
Unless you want to
concerns.
stay, you could, you're more than happy to, you know. I'll just take over. Have a great night, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor.
See you guys. Take care.
Thank you.
You don't have to stay if you don't like. You don't have to.
Yeah, no, no,
But
no,
we're all going to look at you as you walk out, though, and you make it out, you know.
I thought you were very interested in the cemetery
Yeah, we
fees.
thought you were just
Ah, okay, good.
We didn't know that
Are we-
residents and non-residents pay different prices. I've never had to bury somebody, so.
Thankfully.
Yeah.
Well, we got a new website that we're helping to, push more information like that out.
Smart cookie. That would be
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
See you guys.
Thank you very much.
Have a great night.
You too.
Okay, Mr. McCormick, sir.
So, as you know, the staff has been working with the zoning commission and had some discussions with each one of the trustees about making changes to the zoning resolution. And this is the first in a series of potential changes that we're going to send your way. For tonight, we actually have 4 particular items that are listed here that were certified from the zoning commission at its July 26th meeting. All these items that were forwarded to you were unanimous favorable recommendations for the text as presented to be approved. The trustees can still make modifications as they see fit, and I'll go through these in order. You do have 20 days to act on these items, and that was in the text amendment certification sheet that I sent you. The first issue is with respect to Section 686 of Article 6, and it is regarding the procedure to amend approved PD plans. So with all of these proposals, if there is a proposed amendment, if it is new text, it will be italicized in bold and highlighted. And if it is proposed text that exists, or if it is text that exists that we are proposing to strike, then it will be italicized, bold, highlighted, and stricken.
Got it.
So for section 686, we are proposing to change item number 2.
So the dark highlight is what you want to strike? Is that
The
correct?
dark text is what we're proposing to add. There's not anything being stricken there. So currently, there are no criteria, there's nothing to delineate what is a minor versus a major change. It is simply up to the discretion of the planning and zoning director. And as you pointed out earlier, there are changes in staff. And so what I might consider to be major and what the next person might consider to be major are totally different things. And so one of the things we identified early in my tenure here at the township is that we wanted to identify what the major changes would be from the minor changes with respect to PDs, because we were seeing applications where things had been done administratively that when I looked at it and or the other planner on staff, Craig, looked at it, we looked at them as major changes. But the prior staff were looking at them as minor changes. So, for example, in one case, we were talking about a significant square footage being added to a property in terms of an improvement. It looked to me it'd be enough to be significant, be a major amendment, but it was dealt with at the time previously by staff as a minor amendment. If something gets dealt with administratively and the trustees and or the other powers that be are not happy with the staff's decision, it's kind of, you can't really do anything other than change the rules moving forward. So what we're trying to do is just put something in here that identifies what are major versus minor and establish a pattern. So the major amendments we have drafted here, we have shall include but are not necessarily limited to any increase or significant movement or relocation of density, changes in use that result in an increased intensity as determined by the planning and zoning director, movement of primary access locations, the elimination of roadway connections to adjacent tracts or subdivisions, and the elimination or reduction of open space, recreational uses, or buffer yard features. Any amendment which is not deemed to be a major amendment shall be considered a minor amendment. So this text was drafted, and it was also vetted by our legal counsel, and so it was modified a little bit after the legal counsel looked at it, and then of course, the zoning commission looked at it and had an opportunity to make changes as well. And for this particular change, proposed amendment, they did not propose any changes. So again, this is just to define what a major amendment to the plan development plans are versus minor amendments.
And question, do you want to talk about each one of these individually? Because I see that it is, and by the way, Ms. Harris, Senator, are we voting on this tonight?
If you are ready to, yes. If you would like to table
Okay.
it, you certainly could do that.
Okay, fair enough. And then, and it looks like, so are you okay if we discuss these one at a time?
Yes.
Because I don't want you to do 4 major changes and then then have to go back, and my mind doesn't work that way, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's
So gentlemen, I'm going to pause for a moment. I'm going to try my best to stay on topic here. Since we're getting ready to discuss this specific one, I'm going to open it up to the audience, to Mr. Beamer, or Mr. Wing, and any discussion at all from the public? Okay, seeing none. Gentlemen, we'll open up from the board. Any discussion on this?
I've got a quick comment. To me, one, I appreciate taking a look at this, Mr. McCormick, and to put in place a solution for exactly that when people, staff, boards transition. I think it sounds like it's a much more clean direction for the township to operate processes. But in short, gentlemen, this also really fundamentally sounds like this is less power for the staff and more power to the board, and more power to the people, kind of more freedom to the people, basically, because we're all elected and held accountable to the people, and the staff is not. And so, Mr. McCormick, to identify this and bring this forward to basically say, here's the keys, or here's where my limitations as staff are, I appreciate that sentiment. That's the way I interpret this rule change. So, thank you.
Good. Mr. Becker?
I'm good with the language.
I am. No, I'm good with the language as well. I don't think I have any issues. Okay, perfect. We'll move on to the next one. Sir?
Okay, the next series of changes are with respect to Article 13 of the zoning resolution. There are 2 sections that we've worked on, sections 1300 and section 1310. With 1300, I think there are a couple items we were proposing to change. In item number 1, statement of intent, currently the last sentence states, whenever there's a conflict between the regulations of a base zoning district and those of an overlay district, the overlay district regulations shall supersede the base district regulations. And we're proposing to add the text that you see there, bolded, italicized, and highlighted, because our comprehensive plan has has several requirements, for example, regarding sidewalks, regarding architectural standards, to some degree, that are not mirrored and referenced in the zoning resolution. And so to try to address that and tie those documents better together, talk with legal counsel, we saw this is the best way to do that until we are able to rewrite the whole article more comprehensively. And so we are proposing to add that text in that sentence I just read, where it would essentially say, whenever there's a conflict between the regulations of a base zoning district and those of an overlay district, the overlay district's regulations, including the requirements for such overlay district as set forth in the most recent version of the Union Township Comprehensive Plan shall supersede the base district regulations. So that is the proposed addition or change. And on item 6 of section 1300, we are adding the exact same language, literally word for word in the second sentence in terms of applicability, which is, again, addressing where there's a potential conflict between the provisions of the underlying zoning district and the focus area district, acknowledging also now that the comprehensive plan requirements are something that have to be included. The provisions of the free district focus area district shall prevail. And item 8 is the last portion of section 1300 that we're proposing to change. Currently, that first sentence states that the FA district standards adopted by the Board of Trustees may relax the underlying zoning district regulations for land use, lot area, coverage, density, floor area, setback, parking, height, fencing, landscaping, and we are proposing to add the use of traditional building materials. And then, just so you know, before we get to the end of it, we are actually defining what traditional building materials means, because it is referenced over and over again in the comprehensive plan, but there's never a definition of what that means or how much of the materials are to be used. And so that's what we are getting to later on. And that is it for section 1300.
Okay, open it up for public discussion. Seeing none. All right, let's open to the board. Mr. Becker.
I'm good with language.
Mr. Logue.
I'm good.
I am as well, and I look forward to going over the traditional building materials. Mr. McCormick?
Section 1310 of Article 13. This is with regarding the application process for focus areas, overlay districts, and in part the reason why we're proposing this language is because there's no clear language that says or that acknowledges that there are changes of use within overlay district areas, even though we have a change of use application. We see probably a couple dozen of those a year, if not more. And if the way things are worded right now, those changes of uses could literally be, each one of them, an overlay district application. So part of what we wanted to do in 1310 is acknowledge in certain situations where we would have a change of use apply, which would not have a public hearing process involved. This is, for example, when someone is occupying the same space that a previous commercial tenant has occupied in the mall or a strip center, for example. Right now, they do a change of use form. The way the text is written right now, one could interpret it, and conceivably, you would have every one of those being brought to a public hearing for a case. And so instead of having 1 to 3 cases a month, you might be looking then at 5 or 6 minimum cases every month. So that's one reason why we were proposing to change this. And I'll read what we're proposing. The first paragraph, first sentence is entirely new. Applications for zoning certificates in FA districts that are limited to a change in permissible use or occupancy of an existing building, accessory building, lot, or portion thereof shall be submitted on a form prescribed by the planning and zoning director and reviewed administratively by staff. And this is the change of use. And originally, the staff had drafted and acknowledged specifically that this was for the change of use form, and council suggested that we reword it to the way that it's here, possibly in case the change of use form is renamed something later on. I really can't say if that's the only thing or not, but that is essentially what's happening there. Number 1 is acknowledging the changes of use versus the overlay applications that go to the public hearings. And then the second portion of that, all other applications for zoning certificates shall be made to the planning and zoning director on a form titled application for approval of an overlay district plan provided by the planning and zoning director. And then the next statement that is already in the zoning resolution was proposed to be stricken because it would then be repetitive. And that part was said application shall be made on a form or forms as may be provided. And that's the proposed stricken text. The additional text there, the following sentence is highlighted there. And you can see here up there on the screen, the information required for submission shall demonstrate the need to modify the zoning, the regulations for the zoning district, identify the characteristics that are consistent with the intent of the FA district. There might be a word missing there.
No, I think it reads clear, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's good.
Modify the regulation for zoning district, identify the characteristics that are consistent. That's fine.
Okay. Thought maybe I was reading that where I was missing a word. And then in subsection A, we're proposing to strike that second sentence entirely. And that is all of the changes proposed for section 1310.
Great. Mr. McCorvey, thank you. Any public discussion? Okay, seeing none. Mr. Becker, anything?
I'm good with the proposal.
Well said. Mr. Logue?
I'm good.
Mr. McCormick, well done. Next one.
Okay, so there are two proposed new definitions, or I'm sorry, one proposed new definition, one that's a reference, that cross-reference the new definition, and then there's a proposed change to the zoning district map text. And this is for the Appendix A portion of the zoning resolution. So as I mentioned earlier, the comprehensive plan references traditional building materials, and high-quality building materials are also referenced. There's not a definition of what those are, what those mean, how much of the high-quality or traditional building materials need to be included. And so what we've done is we've really defined traditional building materials and cross-referenced those as high-quality building materials. And then in the way we have it situated, if one were to look for high-quality materials, it would cross-reference them or direct them to the traditional building material definition. And for traditional building material definition, we were proposing the text, or at least the proposal that we worked on with and sent to as a staff to the zoning commission is what you see here. Means high-quality materials, including brick, clapboards, and shingles, wood, fiberglass, metal, and stone or simulated stone as primary acceptable materials. Contemporary, secondary, supporting materials with the same visual characteristics as traditional materials. Example given of cement plank clapboards are acceptable if properly detailed with surface textures and trim at openings, corners, and changes in material and in context with the primary materials. Painted medium density overlay plywood is acceptable when used as a secondary material and in combination with traditional materials to give it scale. Long-term maintenance needs should be a consideration in the selection of all building materials. And then this is an important part of it. The use of traditional building materials or high-quality building materials is typically recommended on a minimum of 50% of all building facades, excluding windows and doors in the calculation of the facade area that are highly visible from a public or private roadway. So that is what we drafted, and I will mention that additionally, after the staff reviewed this with the zoning commission, that we had some dialogue via email with one of the trustees, and so we have a second version of the proposed text, which if as an alternative, this could be the alternative language, identifying that the traditional building materials means high quality, natural, being a new word, materials, including brick, excluding the wood materials that are listed there specifically, and just referencing wood, stone, or simulated stone, or, and this is the other text that would potentially change, other masonry or veneer, excluding stucco, concrete block, and the like, that is satisfactory to the development director or his or her designee. And there at the bottom, the use of traditional building materials, proposed change, if it's changed there, would be the use of primary traditional building materials would then be applicable as far as the 50%. And again, the section that we just looked at earlier, the 50% is considered the minimum, and one of the previous sections, if adopted, would allow the trustees to consider going less than 50% or more than 50%.
Okay.
And the last
sorry, go ahead.
definition was zoning district map, and in this case, there's a definition there already, but we're proposing that we're add the text that you see highlighted, bold, and italicized, means the official zoning district map or maps of Union Township, including the Union Township focus areas map referenced in the most recent version of the Union Township Comprehensive Land Use Plan. And then the rest of that text is already in place. The reason why we're proposing to add that is because essentially we're trying to, the focus areas are supposed to be referenced also on the zoning map. And we have tried to map them together to have them viewable all on one map. The problem is it's very difficult to read. And so we're finding that it's a lot easier to have two separate maps, one for all the different focus areas and one for all the different zoning areas.
Good.
Even if we tried to print the map at like 24 by 36, we couldn't make it where it was really identifiable for each district for the focus areas versus the underlying zoning district.
Makes sense. Okay. Is that all, Mr. McCourt?
Yes.
Perfect. Any public discussion? Okay, seeing none. Mr. Becker, I'm curious. Go ahead, sir.
Well, Mr. Chairman, as you know, I'm anal and have a tendency to overthink things.
No.
So, as I was reading through all this and trying to imagine how these things could be interpreted, I'm seeing words like high quality. You know, what does that mean? I'm seeing words like clapboards and wood and shingles, and I'm envisioning a lot of things I don't want to see built here in Union Township. And, you know, so Mr. McCormick and I were kind of going back and forth on a half a dozen different emails, I think, coming up with some different language to clarify what these things mean and what they don't mean. And I think what eventually we made some changes. You can see what are highlighted in yellow on the secondary proposal. And I think the key words that really, I guess, clinch it for me, because I think we can debate all day. I don't, trying to come up with the exact language of what to put in here, it's probably just more, it's going to take more time, more trouble than it's worth, because, somebody's always going to come up with something to get around it. So I thought the best wording in here that proposed add would be that's satisfactory to the development director or his or her designee.
Mr. Logue? Makes sense, by the way. I understand.
The yellow highlights, and just the first thing I kind of ask the question on is, do we need to define natural? Or is that somewhere defined that become an issue? And
Yeah, I was
then-
curious on that too. What
And then-
do you mean by natural?
I think it just becomes difficult to manage and regulate.
What does that mean, natural materials?
Yeah. So that's gonna say, we either have to define it now, or I think it's kind of a non-value add.
Did I give you that word, natural?
I honestly don't remember.
I don't remember us even talking about using that
Yeah,
word.
I was thinking something like, what is natural materials?
I think that word is somewhere else in the code, or somewhere, I don't know. That wasn't my suggestion.
Okay. Striking clapboards and shingles, wood, fiberglass, metal. To just be wood, materials including brick, wood, stone, or simulated stone. I feel like there's one aspect, I think clapboard, shingle, wood, fiberglass, metal combination, historically, for cases that have come through the Board of Trustees here, that has satisfied the requirement for essentially like the high-end hardy plank type of wood looking like feature. Because in one sense, my concern is you outlaw hardy plank wood looking like nice feature, and someone sticks up, you know, cedar siding or whatever, because it's natural, I'll just go with natural. Well, that cedar is what? Maintenance items. And then you have property management and property maintenance issues that in the long run, now it looks like a joke 7, 8, 10 years down the road, where we're at an advantage to have a, I guess this language here, the high quality material, including brick, clapboard, shingles, wood, fiberglass, metal. Basically, that satisfies like the hardy plank. That's what I think of. Mr. McCormick, speak up if there's, on that subject right there. Help understand the materials there. But historically, I know, I want to say, my very first zoning case, Redwood Development, January 9th, 2020. Pretty positive they are a hardy plank exterior with a natural or facade stone. It's neither natural wood nor is it real stone, but it's a good-looking product. And it's durable and it's low cost on maintenance and it lasts a lifetime basically, whereas the wood will deteriorate, fall apart, et cetera. So am I capturing that correctly, or?
So I drafted the proposal that originally had all those referenced and had researched quite a few other resolutions and ordinances, and a lot of this that I'm using is very similar text, or a lot of it is text from the Anderson Township zoning resolution in terms of what they require, and so it's not exactly the same, but it's very similar. And in that particular area, that was what they had referenced as well. And so what you're mentioning in terms of hardy plank, I mean, when I worked construction, we used hardy plank on houses, and when installed properly, it can look nice. It's really more a matter of what the community wants or what the trustees are comfortable with, because I think that you could leave the clapboards in there. With the shingles, I'm not, in my mind, when I think of shingles on the side of a building, it's less it's not something that people traditionally use.
My frame of reference on that is, there's an MI home development. They've had it. Some of the recent, I can't recall if it's Ryan Home. I think it's Ryan Home Community. Also, that's in the southern, along the Union Township, Batavia Township line. They presented a new contemporary product, and they have basically, it's a hardy plank with a shingle look. It's not necessarily shingles, like shingles. It is a hardy plank. It's a look. It's a elevation change. It's a texture. It's a visual appeal. So I think that's my concern with prohibiting that, because I think the real question here, gentlemen, is like, what is it you want to stay away from? Vinyl siding? Like, I mean, what's the real issue here? Like, we can get into all the technicality and say, oh, someone's working around it or not working around it, but at the end of the day, they're either doing what, Mr. McCormick? They're coming through the staff, or these are things that if they're coming through for, you know, PD, a big investment, right, typically, they're coming through the board, and the board of trustees are going to look at it. So anyway, I guess let me answer the question, Mr. Chairman. You know, what's the issue or what's the concern do we think that we have here? Is it just vinyl siding and plywood with paint?
You know what's so funny is today, there was a community in Blue Ash, and I just gave out like a $300,000 bid, me personally I did, for vinyl siding. And they currently have Hardy on there, and Hardy's actually a more expensive product. It's funny, because I want to hear all you guys talk about this, because this is literally my wheelhouse, what I do every day, right? And so, the company I work for, we do not install hardy, because it's like cardboard. And I even wrote it down and put parentheses, your words, when installed properly.
Right, because it can be very wavy.
95% of all contractors do not install that product properly. It's so bad that, I mean, I work for one of the top 5 largest roofing, siding, gutter companies in the city, and we have banned it from, we do not touch it. It's that bad. We don't do it. When it's installed, but you gotta find a meticulous contractor to install it perfectly. And then when it's installed properly, it's a great product. It'll last you 20, 30 years, or, whatever. And so, but, oh, man, but this particular building, the siding that they have hardy on it, it's 10 years old, and they're already asking for a replacement cost. So the key word for hardy, and I'm not here to bash hardy, because it's a great product when installed properly.
When I worked construction, we built new homes. And some of them were expensive new homes, and there were times when we installed it, we had to take it off and reinstall it because it was wavy.
And did you hear you said when we installed expensive homes? It's funny because the big, beautiful homes, oh, I want hardy, I want hardy. It's actually, we don't install it. We don't touch it. We don't even touch it. We don't even do a repair on it. That's how bad it is. So, but I'm not going to say if it's a good product or bad product. That's not doesn't matter. But good. Yeah, the good question on wood. Cedar, I mean, it will eventually rot. I understand the striking of it, but it is a pretty look. As long as it's maintained. As long as it's maintained.
And that first
Well, you say
sentence-
striking, but that's the thing, though, that line number 2, clapboard and shingles, wood, fiberglass, metal, that's all stricken, but then wood is inserted. So wood is being allowed in that secondary alternative version.
Well, I get you. Okay, here's a question. I'm trying to think. I don't recall, so, Mr. Becker, you and I have been here for, say, a year and a half, going on 2 years. I don't recall approving any kind of wood, cedar, hardy build since we've been on the board. And do you remember the last one? I'm trying to think of, what business out there?
There's been my 4 years, it's presentation with high-end materials.
I guess you could say revenue.
There's only one time in which there was really a facade type of question, and that was 125, and it was the Family Dollar, Dollar General, that was going in basically across the street from Laszlo's Iron Skillet. And there was a question about the brick or the concrete block facade versus how much the artificial stone or hardy plank basically was like, and it would be worked out with staff. Which is the only time there was ever basically a real discussion on that from the board, of any board members over the last 4 years.
I mean,
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, please.
I have a suggestion.
Please.
We could be debating building materials all night here. I think what's best is we send this paragraph back to the staff, have them rework it based on the comments that they're hearing tonight, and come up with a new proposal. And again, I think the key to all of this is the words to, satisfactory to the development director or his or her designee. So that way we're not trying to nitpick what does this mean and what does that mean on building material. I say just kind of don't worry about it. We just want to create guidelines so as people are reading this, builders or such, as they get an idea of what we want. At the end of the day, the zoning department has to approve it, no matter what they come up with.
Good point.
So I think really that's the key sentence, and I think we're wasting our time discussing, veneers versus OSB versus whatever the hell else.
Okay. Well, I hate to,
Mr. Chairman.
please.
Ms. Ayers, can you give us your perspective on where this is at? And I think I heard you saying you hate to push something back. I think I'm supportive of trying to see things move forward with presentation, but Ms. Ayers?
I'm happy to take it back and try and rework it, but I'm not exactly hearing one direction, so I want to make sure I understand which direction you would like us to go in to rework this, or are you looking for an entirely new proposal? As far as what is in it, I think there's always going to be this concern as you get new building materials. It's not necessarily people trying to get around the rules, but every time, someone comes up with a hardy plank or something, there's always something else in the pipeline. So when you put in these rules, you are inherently always going to be, a month from now, we're going to be behind because they'll come up with some new building material. I do like the catch-all that says, hey, that's satisfactory to the development director or his designee, because it does allow us some flexibility to address, hey, there's a new building material and we get to what we want in there. I am not as concerned about the natural materials ad. I think that, depending on what it looks like and what quality comes in, that it could be acceptable either direction. As far as the clapboard, shingles, wood, fiberglass, metal, I'm not entirely concerned about that either. I think if you're going to leave wood in there, it's going to leave it as an open possibility anyway. I'm happy to take it back and rework some language if you'd like, but I'm not exactly hearing which direction you'd like us to take it at. And I think, as written, it might encompass what you're looking for anyway.
What do you think, Mr. Ricker?
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with approving it as it's written, with the yellow highlights. Maybe take out the word natural, I don't know. Or leave it in, I don't know that matters.
I'm just reading over it again. Okay.
Might I suggest if we delete the word natural, just to make sure we have that flexibility as different products are developed, that we're able to address it? And
point.
otherwise improve as the yellow highlights are written.
Okay.
I'm supportive with that, with the the alternative they're provided with striking natural.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just want to confirm, so we're striking the word natural. Is there anything else we're striking, or are we all good with Mr. Becker's?
It would be as listed in the yellow. There's some other words strike, but they're already listed on there.
Okay, so that's how I'm going to word that?
That would be my suggestion if the board's so inclined. I think this encompasses the conversation
All right,
I've heard.
fair enough. Go ahead.
Yeah, may just ask I guess it'll be a specific example style question here, but, Mr. McCormick, I know you started on day one looking at discrepancies between zoning issues that you're presenting with us tonight. So I know that's detailed work that it takes time to get through to presentation where it's at. There's a business recently in the township, I don't say recently, but I mean, last couple months, that had opened up under construction. They originally came through, saw the board of trustees here, things were approved. A resident voiced a complaint that it wasn't high-end enough looking. I know you address that with the resident, you address their concerns, you address something with the business owner as well. It costs the business owner excess of $20,000 or so to make some changes. To me, there's a sentiment of understanding more what you're putting forward with this here tonight. Does that clarify those type of issues that maybe that resident had? And is it clear and fair to the businesses of what they're presenting when they bring forward? Was there an oversight? Was there not an oversight? I don't necessarily go back in time on that, but I mean, does this resolve that? Is there anything to share? And gentlemen, do you have any concern on something of that nature when we're specifically looking at the facade type of items?
I think it adds value potentially to have the definition. One, we don't have a definition right now. It doesn't tell us what materials are, like I said, traditional, high-quality materials, doesn't give us an amount. So for the purposes of staff and the board, when we're reviewing applications, I think it would be helpful to kind of have like a baseline, which we don't really have now. We just kind of can say this is what we've done in the past. Well, the staff can only attest to what has been done in the past to some degree because, for example, my time here has been limited to a year. Anything beyond that, I have to do research on. And what I can tell you is some of the cases I've seen in the past, they're not all consistent.
Okay.
you know, there are cases that the staff has looked at in the past where when this particular, when I think what you're talking
Yeah.
about was brought up, we did some research and we found there were a number of other instances beyond the time that I've worked at the township where, you know, they allowed siding in an area that is supposed to be traditional, high-quality building material according to the comprehensive plan area, you
Okay.
know, and it looks like it's metal siding entirely almost on the structure. For example, that I'm thinking of on 125, but we made a list. So in the example of what you're talking about, that plan for that building had already been approved prior to me starting with the township. And when they came in for the zoning permit, staff approved the permit because it matched substantially what was brought in for the public hearing. And when we saw the building being built, there were some concerns raised from several people about the building being built, and the building that was being built and the materials that were referenced and the pictures that were provided didn't match, in the staff's opinion, what was in our approved plans and in our pictures.
Okay.
And so we made them make some modifications.
Okay.
I'm sure it didn't make everybody happy, but at the end of the day, we made them try to comply more with the standards that we're accustomed to here.
Okay, so it sounds like on the building construction side, government worked as it should and made the adjustments to inform the business that, hey, this isn't matching the pictures and the plan of what was presented and approved to, so that's all good. And then also I'm hearing now that sounds like this is a great way to, I mean, I'm sitting here reading the definition, lengthy definition. Sounds like government 101 to me as far as putting some clear defined terms out there as to having something to work off of definition, not just be, well, that's how it's always been done. And having a little bit more accountability and consistency applied throughout the township. So I think that's a great positive step forward. Not that everyone gets excited about zoning, but I think that's a great positive step forward. Okay.
And
Good.
again, the first sentence is really more towards defining what primary materials are acceptable. It's not saying that these other materials can't be used, just to say these are the materials that are the primary materials, and then there's an acknowledgement at the end that so much of the primary material will be used on the structure, and that's the 50%.
Yeah. Good.
Mr. McCormick, took a lot of brain power, a lot of reading. I know it did. Appreciate you very much.
We have a series of several more coming to you at the next meeting.
Exciting. All right. Any more discussion, gentlemen? Great. All right. Gentlemen, I'm going to entertain a motion to approve and adopt Resolution 2023-33, resolution adopting text amendments to the Union Township zoning resolution as recommended with modifications written in yellow.
And scratching
Strike
the
the
word.
word.
And striking the word natural.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Mr. Logue, roll call, please.
I'm going to go ahead and take roll call
sir.
on his
Miss-
behalf.
yeah,
Mr.
miss.
Dills?
Yes.
Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Mr. Logue?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Right.
Right. Okay, next item on the agenda, item 4, is Township website URL branding discussion. And Ms. Ayers, is that you?
Yes, sir.
Great.
Mr. McCormick, if you want to go ahead and turn off display. Thank you, sir. Okay. As you know, we've done a lot of work on the new website. I hope everyone's finding it easier to use. I certainly think it's been easier to maintain on the back end. But one of the discussions we've had consistently with this is our current URL the best example for what we need? Currently, our website is union-township.oh.us. It is cumbersome, it is bulky. When I give my email address, I have to give the precursor of, I'm sorry, this is the world's longest email address. Our email addresses, things all stem from this URL. So I think there's been a discussion about could we get something that's a little bit more streamlined. I did take a look at a few options. I threw out 5 as potential options just to get some conversation started that would hopefully streamline a bit more. utclermont.gov, uniontownship.gov, uniontwp.gov, uniontownshipclermont.gov, union-township.gov which I think differentiates us from where we are currently. So if Mr. Becker indicated potentially wanting to have some discussions on that, but while we were on this topic, I wanted to take a minute to bring up a bigger conversation, and I think kind of rolls in with this. How we present ourselves on things like this website with, that shuffles down to our email addresses and a bunch of other things is part of what I would like to see as a bigger branding discussion. I know we've had conversations about, is it best for it to continue Union Township, or do we want to look at an Eastgate Township? How do we want to position and place make our highway signs, our, entryway points as we look through the 32 crossovers? There's going to be more opportunities for those kind of grander placemaking gestures. And I think this is part of that. One of the things I'd like the board to consider is it time to look at a bigger branding and development study and work in the community to say, what is our best logos? What is our best messaging? What is the way we want to present ourselves through branding? So that when we get the opportunities to work on things like the highway overpasses and the placemaking and things, we have branding which is new and fresh and really represents who we are as a township. Things like the tree logo are great, but do they need a little bit of an update to project the more modern image that we have now in the operations? So I'm happy to have a conversation about, if we have strong preferences on what the URL is, but I do think this is part of a bigger conversation that I'd ask the board if this is a road you want to go down. I'd suggest it might be time to start looking at what the overall branding for the township is and how we want to present ourselves. If you want to go down that road, I would suggest that we look at an RFP and a consultant to come in and actually help with branding, doing some studies, doing some work in the community, and getting somebody who really specializes in things like graphic design and that visual representation to help us really create the best, most professional, modern image that we want to project.
Thank you, Ms. Ayers. And then, gentlemen, before we begin, is there any public comment? Okay, seeing none. Open up for board discussion. Mr. Becker, sir.
I think we should make a change, and, sooner rather than later. We can always change it again somewhere down the road if we need to. There's, pretty much everything is available, and I got it queued up on my computer here for any suggestions to type in if it's available. So the only thing is I typed in multiple possibilities. The only thing that wasn't available was ut.gov. Otherwise, I like the idea of something that's short. The fewer number of characters, the better. That also represents the name of the township. So my first thought was actually, and I initially thought this was clever, UTOH or UT.OH, until you sound that out, uh-oh. I don't know that we want to be the uh-oh township. So,
Oh, Mr. Becker.
How do you think about that?
or even, OHUT, OUT township, I don't know. So as I'm kind of looking through these, I'm thinking something like union-twp.gov might be my favorite out of the bunch.
If we do OHUT, can we do like Ohio State does, OH?
That could be part of the branding.
Yeah, okay.
Give little videos of trustees doing that,
Oh, man. Good, okay.
So, that's why I think, throw out some ideas, and I can type it in the computer, see if it's available, and chances are it is. Other than ut.gov, I can't find anything that's not available.
Huh.
And it's free.
Good, good. Mr. Logue, thoughts?
Just overall, Ms. Ayers, I really appreciate you carrying this forward, moving this forward. That's something I frankly have felt like it's a long, cumbersome email for the last 4 years and since day one that I got here. And I've said the same comments that you've said with giving it to people as well. People have a hard time remembering it and wanting to get it down. So, definitely think that. But again, really appreciate the fact that you fold this into the overall larger discussion of branding and taking a big, bold step forward to say, hey, you're really what I hear you asking for right here is board to have permission to be able to start doing the preliminary work on an RFP release for branding. similar to, I think, one of our, was it a working session that we had, or meeting that we had for your request to do the RFP release for a master plan for the Eastgate Mall. And, I'm excited about what that type of process yields, but I see this very much being something that has to work in parallel. So I think that strategically speaking, working towards a branding RFP is definitely something. I think there's a little more scope to it than I just say branding, but I think that's definitely something that I'd be very supportive of us taking that next big step on. And I think from that aspect, Mr. Becker, we can go through a lot of the different URLs. OUT.gov, that says sorry, it's taken. But I like that. I think that'd be fun to do. But I also like to either, if it's a branding RFP, we'll just say the scope of work there is going to run surveys, community feedback, I would imagine. So I think from that aspect, to hear that, get that feedback too. Because one thing I'd have a concern on is making a change and then making a change again, if it's not like keystone to the overall big picture. And I'm fine with making incremental changes in those changes. I just, would staff say that, changing that, so you're talking business cards, you're talking the website, URLs, updates to things like that, you could get, it could potentially be a process that you could get done with making those changes, then be ready to turn around and say, oh, okay, just kidding, here's the whole new URL because this one actually markets better, or this one's better with the overall brand and everything because going through an RFP process. And so I don't want to pay twice for something basically and have sunken costs on something being incremental if it's just, hey, let's just take the step now. Unless you're like, hey, it's actually a very easy, quick change and, so it's kind of my overall thoughts with that, gentlemen.
Can I
Seriously? Yeah, please,
make one
please.
response? I have some concerns about the confusion aspect of it if we make too many changes. But one alternative that we may want to consider if we want to go down the road of changing it now is actually there's a way to have the website direct from the two different addresses. So if we wanted to get, uniontownship.gov, we could utilize both of those, but not change necessarily the emails that would then necessitate the business card changes and things like that until we know that's where we want to go down. But it could address kind of the problem in an incremental step to say, hey, for a period of time, the website could redirect from some other URL to this, but just not necessarily make the full change with emails and business cards and all of the printed materials until we are sure we're ready to do that.
Yeah, I hear you on that. That's great. Thanks for adding that perspective, the redirection of the website link. So that, you're not going to get the emails, but so I'm supportive of that. If that's something, because that would be easy. Hey, instead of telling people, go to, if you're on the spot, you're talking, go to union-township.o, it's just, it'd be easier, just be very, very easy and succinct to say. So, the other thing on that, as we're talking kind of utclermont.gov, do either of you know what Clermont's background, their name comes from? So it's actually apparently like French, and it's for Clear Mountain. Yeah, interesting. And do you know, so there's 24, 27 Union Townships in Ohio alone,
27.
which is an issue. Westchester Township used to be a Union Township. They changed in around 2000. But it is kind of interesting with Clermont. How many Clermonts there are in the whole United States? We are the only Clermont County in all of the United States. So it's kind of interesting and unique. So I do think to take that branding, and it's no offense on newsletters, but uniquely Union to me is kind of when it's the most populous Union Township name, it's kind of not unique. So, over to you.
So to go along with Ohio State while you're talking, if you're a UC fan, you could do, because you said O-H-U-T, you could do O-U-T. Anyways, I'm more of a Buckeye fan. So when is, from my understanding, in a nutshell, next year, construction is done on 32, and then 2025 is when Glen St. Lutheransville is done. Is that correct? 2025, everything's done?
I believe so, yeah.
And I think, yeah, I mean, I've never pressed the issue, but I think both of you gentlemen know how I feel. I'm not a fan of the name Union Township. I think it should be Eastgate. You go anywhere in the city, outside of the east side, and someone asks where you're from, I say Union Township, they're like, huh? I get a blank stare. I have to say Eastgate. Oh, I know where Eastgate area is at. And so, literally 9 out of 10 times, anyone I talk to. So no one knows this as Union Township. They all know it as Eastgate. I would absolutely be a full proponent of changing the name to Eastgate Township. And I think it's unique. I love what Westchester did. I think Eastgate could absolutely do the same thing. As a matter of fact, whenever we're at grand openings and I have to give the speech and I say, hey, appreciate everyone being out here to the Union Township, Eastgate area in Clermont, I always throw that in there because no one has a clue where Union Township is at. It's all Eastgate. So Westchester did a beautiful job, and are you telling me Westchester's better at branding and marketing and creating than we are? I don't think so. So as far as website, 100% for the change. We can do it now and then, you know, but I do like the idea, if we're real serious about these talks, rebranding and pushing it all out right when all of the mess is cleaned up and done and off 32 and all these side roads. Thank you, ODOT. And once it's done, imagine having that big, beautiful brand change. So, but for the sake of it, I mean, it's not like the average Joe out there, they go to Google, they go to Yahoo, they don't go to union-township.oh. They don't do that every day, right? So if we were to make the change now, I don't think it'll cost very much, and I'm totally for it. And uniontownship.gov's probably got my vote, but, you know, or uniontownshipclermont.gov. Either one's easier and clean, or whatever. But I'm 100% on board of rebranding, 100%. Like, you don't have to talk me into it, so that's where I'm at.
Let me a quick follow-up. utclermont.gov, I think, and if you listed those in priority, I think that stands out clear because it's utclermont.gov. The Union Township spelled out is longer, and Union Township or Union TWP, it ends up being one of those kind of weird ones. So utclermont.gov, I think, is pretty clean, straightforward, not too long, the longer I want it to be, but not too bad.
Yeah, I don't really care. Whatever you guys want, I'm good with. But what we have now is not easy, that's sure. So,
And completely share the sentiment on always having to provide placemaking or location tied to Eastgate. And Eastgate Township is, I mean, I know it's something that's been floated out there before, and I'm interested in hearing that. I'm interested in hearing the community feedback on that, because it just, we'll need to have that, but I think that indicates the process. So I'm supportive of that. I think I'd like to ask both of you right now, are you supportive of saying, hey, can we give her the power to go ahead and really, you know, take steps towards releasing an RFP for branding, basically?
You know what's interesting is, you know, Milford is Milford, the Milford High School, right? You got Milford, you know, and then you got Batavia Township, Batavia High School. Anderson is Anderson High School. I guess the only exception to that rule would be us.
In West Clermont?
But we're West Clermont.
And Anderson, as a Turpin High School alumni, I have to point out that they are in Forest Hills as well.
That's correct. That is true. That is true. Anyways, Mr. Baker, I'm curious. I know where you're probably going to be at just because of the dollars and cents behind it. So I already know based off that. But let's just take dollars out of it for a minute. The philosophical part of how would you feel about changing the name of Union Township to Eastgate?
Yeah, if money is no object, or we could do it for free, yeah, I would go for that. I do like the idea. But when you look at, you know, I think it takes a vote of the people, for one thing.
It does.
It does.
You know, all the changes on, you know, all of the wrapping of the vehicles, or, you know, now if we did it incrementally over time,
Yeah.
but then you have a mix of vehicles that say Union Township, and another mix that say Eastgate Township.
Sure.
And by the way, eastgate.gov is available, I just checked, so we could, you know, we could adopt that one.
Anyways,
So I guess I'm not envisioning it being cost-effective to change it. I don't know what we're gaining from that. What do we get going to eastgate.gov? How do we sell that to the voters?
What did Westchester gain?
I don't know. I don't know what the argument was at the time.
They're one of 27, 28 other Union Townships in Ohio. And they want to differentiate, they want to give the community a more,
Wasn't there a
identity.
city, is there a city of Westchester?
Westchester
In
Township.
Pennsylvania.
Huh?
In Pennsylvania.
Was there no such thing, did Westchester not exist before they
Westchester,
changed
yeah,
it from
so-
Union Township to
yeah.
Westchester?
I
Correct,
believe so.
correct. That's
Okay, I
exactly
thought
what
there
we're-
was a community of Westchester all along.
No.
Maybe it was just, maybe something non.
But that probably shows you the strong branding that they have as Westchester.
Maybe like a Willowville. It's just, it was I guess a census-defined area. Maybe I'm wrong, I don't know.
I never knew that if that's the case, but,
'Cause I thought there was originally a Westchester, and then I guess that was within or part of what was then Union Township, and then it became Westchester. I guess where do they get the name Westchester from?
Good
Why don't we
question.
call us Eastchester,
I talked to their
I'm
trustees.
thinking there was a historical reason for them choosing that name.
I'm
We
sure
have a
there
reason
was,
for choosing
yes.
Eastgate
I'm sure there
Township.
was,
totally
yeah.
get it.
Yes.
You might be right. But I think it's worked out beautifully for them. And maybe, I don't know, maybe when we get a deal done on the mall in the near future, we could rebrand the whole thing as well. So, anyways.
Yeah, then maybe investors coming in on Eastgate Mall, obviously that, I think, takes care of the branding type of conversation. 'Cause that's what I'm hearing. There's potentially, or out of the master planning. I mean, I don't know if master planning is gonna,
Dude.
it's not gonna get too deep on that, but I mean,
Well, I think what master planning is gonna get to is, the idea of a corridor type approach and how are you differentiating yourselves as a community from other shopping destinations or other, economic centers. And so, to me, this seems like a good time to take a step back and say, okay, as we're gearing up for that project, as we have people working on the overpasses on 32, and it would be a labor easier time to get those things changed and adapted to new branding, this would be a time to get that branding in place so that we're prepared to take advantage of that.
Totally get it. Ms. Sayers, I'll defer to these two. Well, I mean, I can give my opinion on it, but it's not terribly expensive. It's not much at all. I'm talking $100. It's not nothing. Because I've had this done many, 15 times. If you want to get a website, and then as our police officers, our office administration, they need new cards, they can keep what they currently have, and then we'll just put them out the new website on. If you
Just do a period of redirection.
Yes, because it'd be great to just tell the voters, hey, go to our website. What's your website? UnionTownship.gov or UTClaremont.gov, whatever it is. So I'm totally in favor of that. Do we need to vote on it next month?
If you guys want to let me know the direction you want to go over the next month, we'll get something moving. I think I can do this administratively.
Okay.
I am curious, though, if we have some consensus over the idea of looking at a bigger branding study or whether I should back off of that idea, because that would require a little bit more work and some
Can
financing.
you keep it simple to save money before Mr. Becker even talks? We have a survey coming out in September.
Yes.
Can you just put that question on a survey? How would you feel about rebranding Union Township to Eastgate Township?
We
Where's the
certainly
money?
can, but I also think that an RFP would cover things like, is it the right logo? Do we need a more modern logo?
Oh,
For
this logo
example,
is definitely time to modify the logo.
For example, like Clermont County did, I think a couple of years ago, did a big, large branding study, and they ended up with new modern logos that they carry over between departments.
Oh.
So branding to me is not just, hey, do we want to go to Eastgate
Okay.
Township? It is more our logos, our colors, our ways we present ourselves and things, and is that the best way to present ourselves?
Do you have any idea what that's going to cost?
I couldn't venture a guess at this point.
the study, I mean, we can,
Because it's going to be a 2-to-1 vote again.
Well, we could
Whatever it is.
I mean,
I like the idea of it, and I think it's needed, especially with all this that's going on. It'll be done in 1.5 to 2 years, and then once, we get the mall rolling, I mean, what a perfect time to do it. I love it, but the question is
Okay.
my colleague, am I right? So, I'm just throwing the question around.
Do you want to be
before
heard
it
on
gets-
this, Mr. Becker?
I'm sorry, what?
Do you want to be heard on this one?
Well, I have a thought here. So we did hire a consultant, MFP or whoever they are.
MSP.
MSP?
Yeah.
For the Eastgate Mall, maybe bounce it off of them. Maybe, do they have some ideas? Maybe we do some kind of major rebranding in connection with a redevelopment of the Eastgate Mall. That would make sense.
I can tell you, I'm happy to bounce the idea off of them. They are not specialists in things like graphic design and things that we would need to implement. I think they would be very positive from the conversations I've had with the idea of having unique branding and how we are utilizing our highway signs, our entrances to places like the mall, and how do we differentiate those from other shopping and industrial centers. I've had some of these conversations with them as we are getting ready to prepare this for the public. And I think they would, but they're not going to be the experts in, hey, this is what the designs need to be, this is what, they're not gonna be the experts in that.
Liberty Township recently, a couple of years ago anyway, they did a rebranding effort, and it looks really nice. They'd have some figures on that, but I would also say that a request for information, we could start there. That's my familiarity, okay, request for information. I mean, and/or you line it up with an RFP, but you're not committing to expending any funds. We're just gonna get information in. She's asking, can this be enough priority that she dedicates some time and resources towards putting together a good scope of work to release for either the request for information, get the marketing materials come in. There might even, I mean, you can even put in that, present and give in your proposal some of your, your demoed brands that you want to provide before you even get to the next step. So you can get a taste of what it may look like. But right now, I mean, I look at this, here's a sand colored brown wall. Here's a green tree. We're not a Tree City, USA. On half of the images, I can't even read what year we're established. Down by Beachmont Avenue, it's now a maroon or / purple that just went through staff last time in December, right before you gentlemen came on the board. And that color was never presented to the trustees to take a look at or anything. It was like Josh Girth over in Anderson Township sent me a picture and said, hey, nice new sign. First time I'd ever seen the design of the monument and the color. I mean, so as a board member, I have a little bit of sensitivity to doing this and doing it in the right way and asking for resources to go to Susan to be able to at least take some of those steps.
I get it. Ms. Harris, can you just check on pricing, how long it'll take?
Sure.
And come back with some information? But yeah, let's check into it. Let's check into it. And then if we turn it down, we turn it down. We'll just get some pricing and how long it'll take and what all they will do for that number and all that. Gentlemen, if it's an administrative decision, do you have any suggestions for Ms. Ayers? I mean, we're not officially voting on it, but we can open talk about it. Is there a website you like up there that you want to enroll with? This doesn't cost, I like this idea. I like to tell residents, or no, do we not want to do that tonight?
I like utclermont.gov. That would be great to go see
What
utclermont.gov.
would you like?
Oh, since I can't sell you guys on I like, my favorite on this list is union-twp.gov. But I don't have an objection to UT Clermont or even UT-Clermont.gov.
I just hate the dash.
I don't want to do the dash.
I hate the
Yeah.
dash.
UT Clermont.
Get rid of the dash, no problem.
Um,
If you're gonna get rid of the dash, UT Clermont probably reads or sounds better than, Union TWP. I don't
And
know.
to me, that says right there too. Again, there's 20, whatever it is now, 24, 27 Union Townships in Ohio. If I say, go to our website, utclermont.gov, it tells people we're the Union Township in Clermont,
So you both, hey, well, no, we're not voting on this because she can just do it administratively. So, hold on, I want to make sure this is clear. You both like utclermont.gov. I like uniontownship.gov. Man, I know what it feels like now, Mr. Becker. Just roll with that, Ms.
Didn't I
Hayes.
start with Union Township or Union-Township?
You said the dash. I said move the dash.
Well, we can get rid of the dash.
Uniontownship.gov is absolutely fine too. It's simple.
Oh,
Uniontownship.gov.
Union TWP or spelled out
No,
Township?
no.
Union Township
Uniontownship.gov.
has to be spelled out, otherwise it gets
I
weird.
don't like TWP.
Oh, you want to spell it out, Union Township?
Yeah,
I do.
That makes it.
But then
that's the
otherwise-
lowest possibility there is.
Can I
I'm
urge
back
you-
to uh-oh.
Can I urge you to think about this a different way, though? As opposed to it being the number of characters, think of the most times you're gonna be telling somebody, hey, this is what the address is. If you put the dashes or the TWP, what you end up saying is it's Union TWP, you end up spending more time explaining it,
Yeah.
as opposed to just saying it's uniontownship.gov.
Yeah.
Which is a little easier to explain when you're talking to someone as opposed to, UT Clermont, you end up spelling Clermont out, Union Township, I think has a good ring to it and is easier to explain to people. So instead of saying my email is sayers@union-township.oh.us, it's my email is sayers@uniontownship.gov.
So now you're siding with me.
I'm with you too. UnionTownship.gov, let's do it.
Done.
Done. All three.
I would just, so you know, I was okay with the other one. It's
good.
But
No, no dash, uniontownship.gov.
Yep,
Thank you.
great.
Let's move on.
I've one
Mark?
bit of information for you.
where'd you come from?
You were asking about Westchester.
Yeah.
I looked it up on the internet, and it must be true if it's on the internet.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
So-
Trust me, I know all that.
So Union Township for Westchester was also familiarly known, I guess locally, as Westchester already. That was the question.
So couldn't I argue the same thing?
Eastgate.
This is all known as Eastgate. Yeah. This is all Eastgate.
Well, not prior to 1970 something when the mall was built.
Okay,
There was
wait.
no such thing as Eastgate. There was no history.
Yeah.
And I agree with you.
But tell me
I'm
the
just
history of
saying-
Union Township.
No, I'm just saying, when you describe to somebody where you live, what do you say?
Well, you know, I was thinking about that. Most people, from my experience, most people think they live in whatever their zip code is. Well, I have a Cincinnati zip code. I guess I live in Cincinnati. We don't live anywhere near Cincinnati, but we have Cincinnati zip codes, or Batavia zip codes, or Amelia zip codes, or whoever.
Or
That's how
Milford.
people identify is where they live.
Okay, you're in Westchester. What do you say? Do you say I live in Cincinnati, Ohio? Do you say I live in Union Township, or do you say I live in Eastgate? To somebody who lives in Westchester, what do you say?
I typically tell them I live in Eastgate.
Mic drop.
But there's a whole lot of Union Township that's outside of Eastgate.
I
You know, if I lived in Withensville,
Oh, yeah, the Polo Fields, all the way down to Beachmont, I know, I'm there with you.
All right.
I'm there with you.
people in Polo Field, most of them will say they live in Milford. It's one of the issues with the Cincinnati Nature Center. They say they're in Milford. They're not in Milford. They got a Milford mailing address. They're Union Township.
I like Eastgate. All right. Are we good? Brandon? UnionTownship.gov?
Yeah.
Cool, okay.
Yeah, I'd just like to see some energy with that for branding, as far as not that the board's delaying it.
No, yeah, she's gonna go.
I got some ideas.
Oh,
That's
we
good.
gotta go get a dollar amount first.
Yep, I like
We'll
that.
take
what
care
we're
of
gonna
it.
do.
Absolutely, of course, but that allows you to be able to do requests for information and get market research in, or RFP.
Yep,
All
we're
right,
good.
deal.
Item 5, Resolution 2023-34, resolution authorizing a then and now certificate for a payment of expenditures. Ms. Ayers.
At the last meeting, you approved a purchase order for $66,767.18 to the Clermont County Treasurer. That was a local match involved in the road construction that's been going on. As we were trying to process it, found out that it had actually never been authorized as an official payment. So asking for a then and now certificate, which will allow accounting to match up and make the payment that we had previously authorized the purchase order for.
No problem. Gentlemen, is there, first off, let's open it up. I'll entertain a motion for Resolution 2023-34, resolution authorizing a then and now certificate for payment of expenditures.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion, gentlemen? Seeing none, Ms. Ayers, roll call.
Mr. Dills?
Yes.
Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Mr. Logue?
Yes.
Thank you.
Passes, and last item is open discussion. First, I'd like to ask our two audience members, is there any open discussion you'd like to talk about, anything at all in your mind? Mr. Wing, please, come on up.
Just really quick, I like
Clermont
Clermont.
Township?
Inside of Clermont County.
You're like inside my mind on that. All of a sudden, over here thinking, how much would Clermont County think about that if we were to really take over
They'd be so
Clermont?
upset.
Hey, I'm from Clermont.
It would be.
I mean, that was the thing. I was sitting there thinking, what political fights would that start?
Can you
Clermont
imagine
County and Clermont Township
the
everywhere.
rest, especially
We're
the eastern
Clermont.
half, they'd be so angry.
We're Clermont. Where you live, Clermont. I mean, that's the other answer to Eastgate.
Oh, man. That's funny.
Keeps an identity.
That's
It's
funny.
the only one in the country. Could be the only Clermont in the country.
Yeah. Spelled differently.
Oh, there's not Clermont County then, I
Spelled
guess.
differently.
but-
Spelled
okay.
the same?
Spelled differently. Oh, really? I thought it was C-L-A-R.
Yeah, I see that commonly, spelled like that.
So then we gotta get a brand that's like a Clear Mountain, because apparently, but.
There you go.
Yeah.
And, okay, open discussion. I'll start with you, Vice Chair.
Well, I was out of town for 10 days. I couldn't stand the traffic.
You look
so
awfully tan.
So I went to Atlanta, where the traffic is much better.
Atlanta, oh, man.
Drove through Atlanta.
Yeah.
No, it's horrendous. Let's see, I got a note that the engineer's office is adjusting the traffic lights. And they're specifically looking at that intersection, actually several intersections, but the one where I asked Mr. Taylor to work with him on, and he's doing that, is at the corner where Frisch's is. A lot of complaints about traffic being backed up there. So
Great call.
they're looking at that and they're making adjustments kind of on the fly.
I didn't think about that. Good call.
So we got Wawa coming in. Prior to them announcing they were coming to Mount Carmel, I'd never even heard of them.
Oh, yeah.
Sure enough, I'm in Florida.
You see them, they're all down there.
There's Wawas down there.
Everywhere, yeah.
And from driving by it, it's not that impressive. It doesn't look any different than a Casey's from the outside. I didn't actually stop and go in one.
You
But-
didn't stop and go
You didn't
in
stop and go in
one?
one?
I didn't.
You
I didn't-
drove by?
I drove, yes.
You gotta go back to Florida.
I don't know. I drove by, I looked carefully. If we didn't need gas, maybe we would have stopped in and got it. We didn't stop at the Wawa. But
Missed
I did make a
opportunity.
huge discovery that's much bigger than Wawa.
Buc-ee's.
Buc-ee's!
Holy
Buc-ee's!
smokes. That's a
There's
gas
one
station
in Richmond,
slash Walmart on steroids.
Richmond, Kentucky.
Yeah,
And we
yeah.
stopped at that one.
We need
And
one of those here.
Then I understood the cult following of the Buc-ee's. And
Yeah.
I'm thinking, where can we put a Buc-ee's in Union
I
Township?
don't think
We need a
we
lot
do.
of acres for that.
We
That's a
don't.
big place. I brought home some fudge too, by the way.
Did you?
I
Nice.
should have brought it tonight. I didn't think of it. Maybe next week.
Maybe
2 weeks.
Yeah, we do need, yeah. Buc-ee's is incredible.
I was amazed when I walked in the door. It was very extraordinarily unique. So I hope Wawa's is something like that. I'll look forward to it.
Hopefully the owners of Wawa didn't watch our Union Township dash, or Union dash Ohio, or whatever, forget our website.
Maybe they want to call it Wawa.gov. We can make a Wawa Township. I think I like uh-oh better. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Logue?
I know Mr. McCormick said he was gonna be working on a couple iterations with zoning here, but it's really been sticking with me what you've been bringing up as far as the working trucks and not allowing, to me, honestly, it's kind of jaw-dropping that frankly, it's illegal, if I say this correctly, it's illegal in Union Township to park your work truck in your driveway. How in the world can that be?
Actually, any vehicle with any lettering. So,
And I'm just keeping it very simple, my work truck, but it's, yeah, any in your work vehicle, like, what is our population, what is our base, like, what is our, so anyway, Mr. McCormick, I think, I'm looking forward to when that can get posted and we can get that thing moving forward, because, I mean, we always heard about, I've always heard about dogs in the park, and it's an aspect of freedom and not being an overreach of government. And I've definitely heard, a time or two on the question on the commercial vehicle, you put it, commercial vehicle. But when you break it down, it's very simple. That's what this is. It's your work vehicle. Not allowing people to park their work vehicle in their driveway. That's wrong. It's just an overreach of government. So I just look forward to getting that done. So,
Go to upcoming zoning cases and you'll see the draft text.
okay. Good.
It's on the website.
Good. Good, I appreciate that. And I know everyone's frustrated with traffic. I think it's I know that it's a result of so much grant funding that has hit in the same geographic location at the same time as getting executed, and a lot of short-term pain, a lot of short-term frustrations, long-term benefit, but definitely in the short term. And so, unfortunately, they're not under Union Township's control. We're talking ODOT, we're talking the county, and I did sign up on the ODOT weekly email subscriptions, went through a bunch of click-throughs. This was actually really, really jaw-dropping to me as well, because a week later, I got an automated email saying I had been unsubscribed from ODOT's listserv. And I mean, I don't know of any agency or company or anyone that wants to unsubscribe you automatically. I guess I wasn't active enough in 1 week. I don't know. So there's a little catch to that we need to give some feedback on, or at least try to help communicate, help our friends at ODOT to help improve the communications plan. Because I think, one, the people like it when government works together. We don't want to be, fighting with the county and fighting with the state and fighting with ODOT. It's great to hold them accountable. Let's hold them accountable, but, work together. But I think people's tax dollar goes further when we're able to work together. So,
I just follow Mr. Becker's next door Facebook post to keep up with everything.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just kidding. You're doing good.
become careful, though. I mean, that's, I don't want to see you get in that position, though, either, where it's taken as you're communicating on behalf of the township, because there's some weird things that can happen with that, right? So,
Typically, I just copy and paste.
So maybe it's
stuff
fine,
from
okay.
ODOT or.
well,
something
then that's
from our
fine, then that's
township
good. Okay,
page.
good,
I
good,
was
good,
just
good.
teasing.
Okay.
Good.
No, that's great. Well, great, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Logue. Just one thing, thoughts and prayers go out to Representative Jean Schmidt. Her husband passed away this week, and as the funeral service is this Friday. Hate to hear that. Upcoming events,
May I? I'd reach out to Ms. Ayers on that. I think it'd only be respectful that the township send something on behalf of the township.
yeah, sure.
We did today.
Yeah,
Did today?
we have
Good,
some
good.
stuff.
Just want to make sure everyone was on the same page, since
We did today.
we've not talked, obviously, so we apparently have all individually talked to Ms. Ayers on that, but.
We did.
Yeah,
okay.
she sent out an email and she sent those out, so thank you, Ms. Harris. Board of Trustees, next regular meeting is September 12th, Tuesday, right here, 6 PM. Awesome event. End of summer fireworks is August 26th, which is this Saturday. 4:30 PM for Touch a Truck, and then 6 to 8:30 is the block party. 9 PM is fireworks. Miss Ayers, we got any food out there? What's going on with food and beverages and stuff?
They will have some snack trucks, Funnel of Love will be there, and then there will be, the businesses along the way that will be serving. So RJ's will have stuff, La Rosa's, the Burger, Route 66, and I believe there'll be another truck, on the Crossroads side.
Great. Love hearing that. That's good. Everyone likes food and fireworks. Movie at the Civic Center Gym. The movie is called Cars for kiddos, September 9th, right here at 7 PM. And then our lantern lighting at Mount Moriah on September 16th. Gentlemen, I believe that is it. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I got a interesting thing, gentlemen. Sorry, I'm gonna show it to you right now. My phone just buzzed and I looked at it, and, we've got on Nextdoor, should Union Township rename to Eastgate Township? That I'm tagged in, so that news traveled fast. So that's good, that's good that our live streaming is working well, because I'm just gonna reiterate that was something that I was a strong proponent of, that we started in 2020.
You're telling me a
so-
resident watched us live right now and posted that out there?
Yeah, I mean, it's all positive from what I see there as well, too. So what I'm saying is I take that as awesome, because, again, I was a strong proponent of, hey, let's get to live streaming, and then COVID did happen too, and it's like, man, we're live streaming, but you can see, and I don't know, I guess I want to applaud the staff on our ability to get more information out to the community and be able to get community feedback and engagement. So anyway, keep it up. Yeah. All right.
I'd like to say that zoning increases the ratings also.
No doubt about it. We all do that.
Mark, throwing out a joke like that. I mean, when you go through those zoning cases, I tell you what, it just livens up, just gets my blood flowing, you know? I like it. All right, nice job. Gentlemen, I want to entertain a motion to adjourn.
He moved second.
Okay.
Yes, so moved.
Second.
All right, Mr. Ayers.
Mr. Bills?
Yes.
Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Mr. Logue?
Yes.
We are adjourned at 8:24.
Thank you, guys. Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you.